I have a never-ending sea of weird room decorations.
Nice.
Uh,
I started recording. Okay.
mm,
So the
all right.
Minecraft head has wires coming out of its eyes by a cutout of Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just
Yeah.
clarify.
And there are 5 spring traps in the room.
There are 5 spring traps in the room.
Yes.
Not counting this one. This is just Spring Bonnie.
Okay.
One of the Springtrap plushies is like my official one, and then 4 of them are my bootlegs.
Yeah.
Ah,
I
okay.
think.
I won't say
I
anything.
think.
Well, everyone will. I'll cut this part of the video out. Okay.
I frankly think we don't even need to do this debate. We can just ask Springtrap if he's the one who killed Charlie. It's fairly
Well,
simple.
I usually want to ask my plushies questions. They just stare at me noncommittally. I don't think they like me.
Mm.
Well,
I think that mine like me, but that also just makes me feel worse when I try to cuddle with them and they end up on the floor. Like, no, you trusted me. It's like when you step on a dog's paw.
okay. Let's see. I should. I'm wondering if I should put my case for pink guy folder out in the middle of all this and. Okay, I'll just move off to the side here. Hold on. Okay, so I'm Blackfoot Ferret, and I'm here debating with oh, dang
What do you call yourself?
Fluff.
Fluff?
That works.
You don't have a full name?
Well, either Q2 2 66 or Dr. Spookalicious.
Okay. And Casey, you're our moderator today.
Yeah, I'm here mostly to try and make you guys clarify shit, I guess, and also to give information about the books and FNAF world and things that I actually remember.
Okay.
If need be.
Yeah. It's not a lot that she remembers, but it helps to have someone else here.
All right. So our primary focus of the debate today is the pink guy, that infamous entity that may or may not exist depending on perspective.
Yes.
All right. My theories are that the pink guy, the Take Cake Killer, and also seen in the background of a Foxy Go-Go, is actually Phone Guy and also the teen version of Henry. I subscribe to the model that the novels have, where Charlie has 4 different forms, each of which has like a different age. So I'm thinking Henry was the teen when he did that, the older brother, Foxy. And then when Fredbear's Family Diner opened, he digivolved into adult Henry, aka the man in the Fredbear suit. But there's a lot to establish there, so we should probably start at the beginning.
Yes. Well, coincidentally, I also have the model that the novels have of William killed Charlie.
Okay.
Damn, salt right off the bat.
No, let's just do both perspectives. Let's do it in stages.
Yeah. I'm arguing for the side of the pink guy, as seen in Take Cake to the Children and Foxy Go Go Go, and the purple guy, as seen in Save Them, are the same person in every sense. They're both William Afton, and like Henry is not involved.
All right.
I mean, he's involved in some things.
Well, his daughter dies in Take Cake to the Children, and he references that in FNAF 6, so he's involved. Just the question is, where is he?
Yes, there's always been sort of a tricky grammatical aspect to it, because if I'm like, oh, the pink guy doesn't exist, you're just like, oh, what do you mean? He's right there. And then I've stated before that I don't think the pink guy exists, and then you take that to mean that I don't think Henry exists, which is a different claim, but to you it's not. So it.
Well, I did have to argue a long time before people realized that Henry existed in the story of the games also, but that's ancient history. We've been debating for like 5 years, so we've done this in various stages. Okay, should I? Oh, go ahead.
I think that the I think the burden of proof is a tricky thing, but I think that considering how like I'm not even sure how I want to phrase this.
I'm well aware that I have an unpopular minority opinion, and the burden of proof probably is on me, but I have a lot of proof today I'd like to present.
Yes, and that's the chance that is being given to you. And but I was more going to say that I think the the burden of proof falls on the less intuitive claim, uh, which is your forte.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's forte is a musical term.
okay.
Fortissimo! Be loud, be strong! Sorry, I just thought I'd do something
Anyway,
stupid.
would you like to start us off with some proof in favor of the pink guy theory?
Right, well, we should start to the ancient days of FNAF, where a group known as 8-Bit Gaming made a video where they noticed the sprite difference between the Save Them purple guy and the pink guy in the other two minigames.
Yes. I will add as an additional note. I think I did a comparison a while ago. I don't have it like I'd have to do it again, but I did a comparison of that thumbnail, and that thumbnail is misleading. I think they like brightened up the pink guy a bit.
Well, I've got graphics. So
Right.
here's the directly from the FNAF 2 pack.
Mm.
In different game, they have a grid that simulates like an old modder over the top of it, so it looks like it's all cut apart. But here's the actual things. You have the purple guy on the right, who does match the description of William Dave Afton in the Silver Eyes. His skull is sideways, he's bent, he's skeletal looking. All of this matches with the Save Them sprite. And then you have on the left side, you have the Magenta Man, the man we see as a Take Cake Killer and in the background in Foxy Go-Go. Now, it's not just a matter of a simple sprite difference. It's subtle. People have told me they look like almost the same. It's hard to pick out. But there are actually several different things about these two sprites. And I pulled up a image I made earlier. And I downloaded too many files, so finding the right one is going to be a little bit of a few extra seconds. Okay. Here we go. This is from the Summer Paradox that we talked about earlier. Like, for example, the pink guy has black eyes. The William sprite, I'm just going to call the Save Them sprite William for simplicity, has white eyes. That's pretty glaring. Then, like, the pink guy is short, purple guy is tall, the pink guy is fat, the purple guy is thin. The pink guy has almost no neck. The purple guy looks like a giraffe, maybe steam powered, we'll never know. The entire shape of the pink guy sprite is square, while the shape of purple guy is all rounded. And then we always have they're also spring-suit heads. It looks like the Fredbear head is designed for... Let me expand this window here. Like in FNAF 4, we see heads in the back room. And here's Spring Bonnie's head. Next to it is a rounded robot head. I can pop that out so it's easier to see. And then we have the Fredbear, who's next to a square robot head. And obviously there's suggestion that Henry always wears Fredbear in the novels, and William always wears Spring Bonnie, and the shape of these robot heads do correspond to those characters. So
I just want to add as an additional note: is that a head? Because I assumed that was like a body, like the body part of the end.
There's a body in there too. I'm just showing the heads for right now, though.
Well, I mean, like
the last one that you showed.
Yeah, the black. You said that this was like a square head.
Well, it's right here. You can
yeah,
click.
That looks more like the torso section to me.
Well, it's sitting on the shelf next to the other heads. So let's see. Can I get a FNAF 4 screenshot? I thought I got screenshots of everything. Okay. FNAF 4 back room. Do I pull an image up? No, that's a picture of a guy who looks like a hamster. Trying again. Okay. Here we have, I'm going to pull this in front of the building. Is this a safe room in FNAF 4? Actually, let me try to download the image. Hold on, I'll try to download this and we can all look at it and be mildly horrified.
Be
Right.
mildly horrified.
Oh, except oh, there it is. Okay, does this upload? Yes, it uploads. Okay. So yeah, this head is on the shelf next to Fredbear. And the round head is on the shelf next to Spring Bonnie's head.
I mean, if you do a comparison, there's like an animatronic slumped over in that room, and it does look to be the approximate size of like the torso if you were to like just paste it over that. And there's a hand next to that. I don't think this is like organized by anatomy, personally.
Well, you have like another head and an arm below that looks like vaguely like a human skeleton while also a robot. So that's where they're hinting like there are people's souls of these things, but
there's like a heart-shaped head. I don't know what to make of that.
What, the one by Spring Bonnie?
Yeah, or no,
the one on the bottom table.
Yeah. It just, like the top of the head. I'm not sure how to, like, you can't really categorize that as like square or round. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the top two shelves, like obviously, except that's a head now because it's on the shelf, size-wise, and the body's below it.
There's also another additional note about this room that I don't know is real relevant, but I think this is a good example of something that I'm completely willing to believe was unintentional. If you compare the height, you know, because the bite victim size between all the minigames is consistent, so you can assume that the size of everything is consistent. If you compare like the room with like, you know, we see William's height in FNAF 4, and we see the height of the guy in the Fredbear suit. Neither of them would be able to fit through that door. That is a very short door.
Well, I mean, you see the top of his head through the door. Let's I do have that image here, real quick.
I mean, but like, you know, William would have to crouch to get in there.
Well, like you pointed out earlier, the size and the 8-bit minigames are sometimes abstracted. Like in Save Them, the toy animatronics, who are the smaller ones, are freaking huge, and we play Withered Freddy, who is actually shorter than William, which makes 0 sense. So, and like in FNAF 4, we see the toy animatronics, they're tiny. Even though the Toy Chica is still missing her beak, which looks like that's actually the real animatronic. So it's like, there could be some symbolism going on there.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that you use that like picture of William and Sammy in that room, because I've had a debate about this before. I don't think that that's actually the safe room, or I think that that is the safe room, but I don't think that the room that the bite victim is in the Night 4 cutscene is the safe room. I think that is more likely parts and service.
Well, I think that depiction, the purple Easter egg, would be a depiction of the two-child event on June 26th and the FNAF 1 poster. It's like, well, we never see what's in the room. We see who goes into the room. Like the 5-child poster says that someone in a cartoon mascot suit was seen going into the room, and in the 2-child poster, it's like you have a clearly identified suspect that's going in, and they think he used a suit to lure somebody, but they don't know, and they would know if he was actually on the camera feed. So we're looking at an identifiable human without a costume. And that's kind of what we see in FNAF 4. There's William. Hi, William. And then he's using the Spring Bonnie suit to lure somebody in. He's putting them in the suit. And that does look like the sprite I believe is Sammy that's also outside. I believe FNAF 4 is a collection of memories from different places and times, so there's Teen Sammy above and Little Kid Sammy below, and it's all coexisting somehow, so... But, yeah, the hair and the skin seem similar, and then, since Sammy and Charlie go everywhere together, let's put Charlie up here. And there's her magenta shirt, which was once again one of the instances where I think the color magenta symbolizes a member of Henry's family. And she's got the toy animatronics like in the books, and there are like 4 perfect RGB color matches between those two sprites. Like the skin color is the same, the red accent is the same, the blue eyes are the same, the shoes are the same, and that's a creepy similarity that you see that with Balloon Boy, but you don't see that with Elizabeth Sprite. And to a lesser degree, the Freddy Bully. So I think that's saying like these two are really, really similar. And if the reason I think that Charlie's soul is split in two, with part of it going into being carried off by the pink guy and made into JJ, and the rest of it going into the puppet, is that I think that Teen Charlie accompanied Teen Sammy on June 26th, and while Sammy tried on the Spring Bonnie suit, I think Charlie tried on Fredbear, and they both became the Shadows. So I'm thinking that's they blame William for their deaths as the Shadows, and then they try to get back at him by framing him for the MCI and save them. That's my model currently. It's like victims becoming monsters that kill other innocent people and keeping the cycle going. So I think FNAF is like a parable against the dangers of seeking revenge. So like one victim becomes two victims, becomes five victims, becomes any number of victims, etc.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I will be completely honest. Currently, as of right now, I have just no idea about the Shadows. I am total left on them. I've done a couple run through of like a just mega thread on all of the possibilities for them, which they're just like everywhere in terms of evidence. But and I haven't gotten anywhere near finishing that. That's just a subject for another day. But I will say, there when I looked into it, there was a shocking amount of evidence in favor of Charlie being Shadow Freddy, and that is one of the things that I'm most considering.
Yep, that's been a part of my theories for a while.
Yeah, but I want to, shift topics back to the argument that the sprites are like opposite, or they have a lot of features that are opposite, just in much every way. Because I do think that I figured you were going to open with that claim, and whenever you're talking about the pink guy theory, obviously the number one bit of evidence, they look different. I don't want to say they look like different in every possible way, because there are some possible ways that they look like they're both. One of them isn't like upside down. You could argue that opposites are a tricky concept, but I prepared, I believe, 7 different responses to that.
Okay, well, go for it.
Yeah, because
I have it up on the screen right now, the details from the Silver Eyes and how they're like all different. They do seem to be related, and I do think they're members of the same family, but at the same time, they're just like a Charlie Puppet, Charlie Shadow Freddy. They're opposites there too.
I do want to like put this. All right, and before I get to, excuse me, like the bullet list, I was searching on Google Images and I found this image made by Loch Ness Otter, an old like FNAF forums user that no longer goes on there, but he was. I remember hearing quite a bit about him in the day.
Can you put in the chat?
Yeah. He created this image, which I think is a good comparison, because what I consider to be a major problem in your comparison is that you're just taking 2 examples, and in just FNAF 1 through 4, which you believe to have been a planned out story, like from the beginning, possibly years before the beginning, the issue is that that's too much of a small sample size. And this image perfectly exemplifies just how much variance between the sprites there actually is, and all of a sudden the differences between purple guy and pink guy don't seem so absurd.
Well, you're also seeing William at different times. Like the FNAF 4 sprite is before he lost weight, which is also reflected in the book. But
yeah, and that was like another one of my main reasons, is that we both agree that in the books and the games, William Afton used to like be more robust, and then he got like super skinny and unhealthy, which is strange to me because like you're not comparing, like William in you're not comparing the pink guy in 1983 to William in 1983. You're comparing the pink guy.
Uh-oh. Did you guys... I think you guys stunned.
And neither do you.
Okay, your feed's back. You shuddered for a moment there. Can you repeat the last, like, 10 seconds? Uh-oh. We might be breaking up. Hello? Anybody there? Still... You guys still there?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
It just shuddered for, like, a while. It's back now, though.
Yeah. So I was saying, you're not comparing the pink guy in 1983 to William in 1983. You're comparing the pink guy in 1983 to William in 1987, and I don't think that they look the same in 1983 and 1987, and neither do you. I think that if you're going to take the route of this was pretty much all planned from the beginning, then William's weight loss over time should have been intentional from the start too, and thus the oh well he's like shorter and fatter here argument doesn't really hold.
Well, Silver was being written, like, it took 10 months to write, so it was being written long before FNAF 4's release. So that part was planned, and everything I see from the FNAF 1 posters is like you see the birth of the shadows, you see the MCI, you see the demise of the original restaurant where Take Cake to the Children happens. I see them in all those posters. So the major parts of the timeline were in place at the time FNAF 1 launched, including, I think, the Golden Bear that attacks us. I put an image down below that compares the Shadow Freddy in FNAF 3 to Phantom Freddy, who's actually Golden Freddy, and how they seem to have come from the same robot, but when seen in first person, Shadow Freddy looks very much like Golden Freddy, and I think that she's the giggling girl that attacks us before Yellow Bear attacks in FNAF 1. I got off track. Where were we? Okay.
Yeah.
Comparing the purple guy sprite and oh, you were talking about pre-planned out, and yes, I think that Shadow Freddy's arc was planned at the time FNAF 1 launched, because you go back and realize that a girl is antagonizing you instead of Michael. So this thing isn't what we think it is.
Well, I'm not currently refuting your claim that these games were planned out. I don't think it's true, but that's not what I'm trying to refute at the moment. What I'm saying is that the some of, and not all, but some of the differences between the like Save Them purple guy and the pink guy in like Take Cake and Go 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 could just be explained by William's weight loss in that's reflected in the books and that we sort of see in the games.
Well, to me, that cements the idea that the guy with the glowing eyes and the royal purple color is William. Even if the shade is a little different each time, but I like using FNAF 2 as a set because that game was all planned out at the same time, so all those decisions were very deliberate and designed to go together. But yes, I do see that in FNAF 3, William comes in and, well, purple guy, whatever you want to call him, comes in and smashes the animatronics with his bare hands. He definitely looks a lot more buff in this one. So there were probably changes to characters over time. He's also not wearing the badge in that one, but...
Yeah, I do find it interesting, and this is like another one of my refutations to this. Or it's not really a refutation against the idea that they look different. It's just like possible evidence, going against the pink eye theory. It When I look at the two appearances of the purple/pink guy in FNAF 2, and then look at how Scott chose to design the purple guy in FNAF 3, it seems to me like he was just combining aspects of both of the previous sprites, almost as if to like say that those differences don't matter because Scott has said that he always uses new games to clarify mysteries from old games, and between FNAF 2 and FNAF 3, the pink eye theory is pretty popular. It's not as popular today, some would say, unfortunately, and I think it very easily could have been intentional on Scott's part to make it look like halfway, just to show like the missing link, I guess.
Well, another way of interpreting that is this could be a. You remember the story of Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Henry Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
I just well, I haven't read it personally, but I do want to point out you always emphasize Henry Jekyll, but in your theories, Henry is the Hyde of the relationship, isn't he?
That's correct.
So it seems to fly in its own face.
Well, it's two personalities that are vying for control of one body, and so I'm thinking that.
I think what he's saying is like, why, if Henry were a reference to that, why would he not be named Edward?
Yeah.
It might be flipped from that, but I'm talking about the principle though. Like I'm thinking, he found a way. This is a person who had multiple personalities. He found a way to give them all their own body. So you have to have a reason. Like in the books, Henry and William keep working together even after William kills Henry's daughter. Now that's like brutally hardcore. It's like, why in God's green earth would he still work with this guy and not find a way to casually kill him instead of the 5 kids? It's like, why does Henry trust William? And then later on you learn that he actually let William build a restaurant of doom beneath his own house, full of all sorts of horrifying things to entice people, and also preserve the twisted animatronics instead of scrapping them for parts like it is for all of his own projects. For some reason, Henry and William are really tight, and they really shouldn't be from what we've seen. So there's got to be some reason why they're still together, and it's almost beyond family. Like, would family even still trust each other after someone killed each other's daughter? I don't think so. So I'm thinking if they're two parts of the same person, that might help explain that.
There are other explanations, but first, is it canon that that they continued working together after Charlotte was killed? Like,
well, Charlotte was killed at Fredbear's family diner, and then they tried to convict William of it, but they couldn't find the bodies, and eventually got off and became the. But yes, he worked back at Freddy's. He was the. I mean, when Michael Brooks was abducted, one of the things they remember is that the animatronics started freaking out when the technician approached the stage. And William does that same trick later on for Charlie and Friends. He approaches the stage, and they start freaking out in exactly the same manner. So I think like William was actually covering for Henry, who was in Fredbear who abducted William. But yeah, William was there. They know William was there the whole time. That's why they tried to arrest him with the MCI and all that. I see no possible timeline where Henry did not recognize his own lifelong partner who came back and assumed the very same role in the very next restaurant. I cannot believe that Henry did not realize who William was.
I mean, I can acknowledge that that makes sense. So I think it's reasonable to assume that that they kept working together after William killed Charlotte, but I will say I don't think there's any indication that Henry knew from the beginning who killed Charlotte. Like from when it happened.
Yeah. And I had something.
Sorry, I talked quite a bit, didn't I?
It's fine. It's fine. You guys can. We're all. It's open for them.
Yeah.
relax. Go back to what were you trying to think of?
Yes, I was going to say, in my timeline of the games, there is a point when William and Henry do work together, and we've had many discussions about this. But I think it was only when Henry absolutely needed to keep his business alive, and then it turned out that William was just intentionally trying to buy out his business to drive it into the ground because fuck Henry.
Well, this goes back to who controlled the original restaurant, which is a different discussion, but I'm prepared for that one too.
Well, actually, I was talking. Well, I mean, it sort of does. It all ties into each other. But I'd like to once again, because I'm hardly done with the they look different.
I'm not done with that either. I've got more examples of where magenta is used symbolically, but all right.
Is it magenta or pink? Because you have conflated the two in earlier.
Charlie conflates the two in the Silver Eyes also. She has like the off salmon. What is it? One of her the
salmon color that Charlie had always
sworn was pink, right?
Casey also pointed out, not that long ago, when we were just waiting for this to start, that in the fourth closet, Funtime Freddy is described both as purple and pink, or as white and purple and white and pink.
No, I think the pink comes from Count the Ways.
Oh, Count the Ways. Okay, yes.
Yeah, it says that it seems like he used to be white and pink.
Well, there might be a reason for that too. If you look at the extras in Sister Location, when they're constructing Funtime Freddy, he's pink in every frame until they add blue bonbon to his hand. Then suddenly, poof, purple. I think you see that with Funtime Foxy too. Okay, here's the.
Maybe they wanted to have it like Henry colors, and then William came in and secretly painted over it.
Oh my god, that's a metaphor for what he did with Baby.
Yes. Well, that's another recent discussion too about Bonnie in FNAF 1. The model is supposed to be blue, but in execution, he looks purple. It's like, this might mean there's actually two entities in there. And the reason we're getting a double signal, both a pink signal and a purple signal, is that maybe we're dealing with more than one thing. Or a more complex thing that's made of two other things.
Yes.
I put the picture of the family in the chat, by the way. Yeah, you can see Mom has purple pants, but she has a magenta shirt, and Charlie also has a magenta shirt.
That is not magenta. It does not match any definition of magenta. It's just pink.
It looks pretty close to the pink, eh? All right. We can view them side by side here.
So I don't know. My number one, because I didn't do them in order in this discussion, but when I was writing out my 7 different arguments against, they just look different, so they are different. When I was writing those out, the first one that I put, I don't know if you commonly read TV tropes, but the idea is just early installment weirdness, which essentially just means something used to be when a series is getting off the ground, some details haven't been fully fleshed out yet, Purple Guy's design. When you have to consider that when Scott Coffin was drawing up these images of the purple guy and the pink guy, whether or not they may be the same person, he didn't have the term purple guy in mind.
That's an assumption, but go on.
What do you mean? That was a fan term, wasn't it? The term was made up by the community. There's no way he could have known that the community would dub him Purple Guy.
Well, he's named a Purple Guy because it was a Purple Guy sprite. So, okay. He might not know the exact name, but I think he knew the nature of the character.
Well, I mean, now he's known for being purple because he's been purple in almost every appearance. But originally maybe the pink-purple spectrum was broad enough of a, or was specific enough of a classification that, you know, could just be the color range associated with them. But back to early installment weirdness. I say in the document, I don't know how easy this would be to do now, but I link a list of tropes, or not of examples of early installment weirdness in Star Trek media, because I'm not very familiar with Star Trek, but I know you're a big fan of it.
Yeah, I've for a long time.
I thought that might be like a.
I know things can change over time, and definitely TNG and the original series are an example of that. But the thing is, the purple and pink slash magenta color scheme does seem to be a recurring theme. Let me pull up an image of here's our heroes again, quote unquote, by Elizabeth and Charlie. And this is Elizabeth's like ice cream girl sprite, the one that actually gets eaten in the minigame. And then here's FNAF 4 Charlie, or at least the one I keep calling Charlie. And they almost look as opposite as pink guy and purple guy do. Like, the Elizabeth has a much more purple patterned shirt, even though she also looks similar to the other one. They both have a red bow in their hair, although Elizabeth's is square, while Charlie's is more triangular. Elizabeth has 2 buttons, Charlie has that slash. Elizabeth has like black shoes, Charlie has white shoes, which is the opposite of the novels where she actually loved black shoes. But it's looking like a color code, like Elizabeth belongs to William and Charlie belongs to the pink guy.
So magenta is a running theme. I want you to try to like.
I've got more, but okay.
I want you to try to like understand where I'm coming from here. In a series that has been around as long as FNAF has, you can pick any color and point out like hundreds of times probably that color appears in the series, but you can't really call it a recurring theme. I could point out 1,000 examples of blue in FNAF, but could I call it a recurring theme? I don't think colors really work that way unless
it relates to Bonnie a lot.
We have okay, unless we have like evidence that it is important whenever it shows up, like we do with purple. I don't think that there's a case to be made that it is a recurring theme.
Well, isn't that what I'm doing today?
Well, the idea that magenta is important whenever it shows up is based on the idea that it is a recurring theme.
Well, I'm making the case now that it's a recurring theme, and I've got more stuff. Okay.
I think that what he's saying is that pink can come up multiple times in the series just because it's a large series and there are only so many colors, without it necessarily like having thematic relevance. Like you're pointing to the Charlie sprite as an example, but that's only Charlie in your theories. And part of the reason that you believe that it's Charlie is because it's associated with magenta, so it's sort of circular.
And also identified canonically in FNAF 6 as Henry's daughter.
What, that sprite is?
The cake victim is. Okay, maybe not that sprite, but...
Yeah, it's not that sprite. I'm saying that yes, Charlie is the cake victim, but I don't think that sprite is Charlie that you just showed.
Alright, well, let's look at the graphic novel again. The magenta theme, I see magenta when I see that. Obviously, you can make your own decisions about that. Magenta / pink. It's definitely pinker than her mom's pants, but let's see, out of their notes, what else? I think Ballora in the games has to be Charlie's mother. That's the thing. Like, obviously, they're mirror universes. The two are different. But we see... My current theory is that when the pink guy stabbed Henry's daughter, he did it with a silver knife. Just like how William does in Officer Dunn in the Silver Eyes. and then later claims to have loved quote-unquote made an animatronic. And I think that the Silver can collect someone's remnant, and then when he stabbed, he took that he found a situation where his daughter was being denied access to her own birthday party, which is usually when the Aftons would get their robot and their key to robotic immortality. So basically, by locking her out of the birthday party, Michael and the others were denying her chance to be immortal and also shunning her from the family. And Henry, concerned, stabbed her with a silver knife, took her remnant, and made JJ, which does seem to be the equivalent of Ella from the books. Here's a picture of JJ pretty quick, like the early Balloon Kids, and then here's Ella from the recent novels. And they both have the magenta cheek dots. Once again, like magenta being associated with Henry's family. And then and then we have Ballora, who's the mother of puppets. By the way, you see here here's the.
Is she called the mother of puppets?
I'll put the images on the screen here. Here's a mini arena close up, and here is the puppet close up, and here is Ballora dancing with the puppets, or with the other miniature ballerinas. I put that image in here. Image retrieval always takes me time. Hold on. I tried to put these in order. They had instead put them in order of creation, so it's a little bit hard. But yeah, like her kids, like in night 4, when her abdomen's living mill gets shattered, it makes some of those. Like her kids look like her, just like Baby's kids look like her. Baby produces miniature babies, and Ballora produces miniature ballerinas. But like they all look disturbingly like the puppet.
I think.
And Ballora also has the magenta cheek dots on her, which would be in line with JJ and Charlie, at least Charlie in my theories.
I think it's somewhat telling, I suppose. I remember a discussion that we had like months ago that I pointed out that in your model of the games, Ballora has 3 children, but there are 4 mini arenas there, and the exact number of mini arenas seems like a detail that you would consider important. It's like
well, except that she's scooped every night, and at least 20 crawl into Michael after that. And if this many are born every night, this has been happening for 30 years, then there could be an army of mini arenas. But yeah,
I mean, those are the 4 that she's posing with.
And they all say baby. They make baby in a pantomime, which I'm still thinking about.
I mean, maybe they're just babies. Maybe it's not the proper noun baby. But yeah, I think it's like, because you did consider that for a while. Like, I pointed that out to you, and you said you would consider it, and you did consider it, and ultimately came to the conclusion that that is the kind of detail that doesn't seem like it fits anywhere in the lore, and it doesn't seem like it matters that those 4 would be like particularly important.
Well, it probably doesn't matter if they're spelling out baby in pantomime, but there's probably a horde of mini arenas, just like a horde of biddy babs at this point. So I don't know if the number is significant. Like every night they scoop them after they go up to the surface to get a human victim. So.
But yeah, like that's just a perfect example of something that you don't deem important, but if somebody did, they would just accuse you of like throwing away details and just like trying to, destroy the lore and destroy the story.
All right. Well, do you have a theory of why the number of 4 is important then?
No. I'm just saying, if someone did, that's what they would accuse you of, and that's what it feels like when you accuse me of that, because I don't think that certain details are important. Transition 2, they look different.
Well, I did take umbrage when you tried to say the FNAF 1 posters couldn't be used as evidence. That's like some of the hardest evidence we have in the entire lore. So I admit that we've been onerous in some of our discussions in the past, and part of that has been my fault, and I'm doing what I can to rectify that. But I wouldn't try to suppress someone's theory in such a manner just because it contrasted with mine.
number 2 on my list of possible, I don't want to say refutations, but just explanations for this. Do you want to say something?
I sort of did a while ago, but there didn't seem to be a way, a point, like a point where I could say it. You said that Charlie was stabbed with a silver knife?
I believe so, yes.
Where does the silver knife come from? I did read the scene where Spring Bonnie Williams stabs Officer Dunn, and that was a silver knife.
A knife is also involved in Henry's suicide. Like the robot has a knife, and then also in the final confrontation between Charlie and Auntie Charlie, quote unquote, aka Baby, in the end of the fourth closet, Charlie resolves that by having Dad's knife, it's his suicide bout with the same knife, stab all 3 of them, her, Ella, which they both have memories from, and Baby together, connecting them with this metal knife. And then my reading of it is that Charlie realizes that both of them are girls who have had shattered lives. Both of them feel incomplete. She tries to, and that Baby's supposed to be her ultimate form anyway. She transfers her remnant through that connection into Baby, and they basically do a Steven Universe style fusion, where they both become the adult Charlie that was supposed to be. And like Charlie like symbolically pushes Ella along the knife toward Elizabeth. And a theory that I want to propose is that just as I think the pink guy took some remnant from Henry's daughter, well, her name might be different in the games, but we'll just say Henry's daughter, and made the robot JJ out of it, which would be the game's equivalent of Ella, I think that William might have done the same with a puppet and created Elizabeth. That's why I think
we're getting a little off topic. So just to clarify, do you think Henry, when you were talking about the silver knife, were you talking about the books, or are you just saying that like it's probably a silver knife in the games too, because that's what it looks like?
It was first revealed in the books, and the pink guy does something to Henry's daughter outside. He walks up to her and seems to drain something from her. It's like she gets grayer and grayer, and tears get longer and longer, and then she becomes like a specter. But it's like something's being actively drained from her during that sequence. And I'm thinking Dad's collecting a remnant so he can go get a robot for her so she can be immortal. Because the rest of the family are not letting her have the birthday party and not letting her have Chica. So I think it's in a backwards way, mad scientist father is doing what he thinks is best for his daughter, even though to everyone else it just looks like a serial killer.
So in the game, or not in the games, in the books, Charlie, like the baby Charlie in 1982 or 1983 or whatever, is killed with a silver knife. Like that's another example of that, like confirmed.
I'm still piecing together that part of the exact timeline.
Okay, because I thought you were saying that it was true in the books in that specific murder, and that were untrue.
Well, we don't actually know what happens to the real Charlie when she's abducted by William. It's like, do we ever learn if William has a wife in the novels? But suddenly he has...
It is never mentioned William having a wife or baby, or Elizabeth having a mother. For that
right,
matter.
that's really interesting, because like in the... Suddenly William has a daughter, though. Her name's Elizabeth. And she's in Baby, and all this. There's always been a weird connection I've seen between like the puppet and Elizabeth in the games. Like in FNAF 4, the voice at the end that says, "I will put you back together," uses the pigtailed girl's very same text color. And then that would seem to link Elizabeth to the puppet in the games. And then in the novels, you have who I think for all the world looks like Shadow Freddy, a terrible, horrible, twisted version of Charlie that likes to kill people, who's after her in Baby. So like this time, Baby seems like the Shadow Freddy. And it's like you have Charlie on one side, you have Auntie Charlie on the other. And I'm thinking that Elizabeth is somehow linked to Charlie. And I've been pondering this for years, like how that could be. What if the remnant that the puppet absorbed after the pink guy left was used to build another little android girl, and this one was named Elizabeth? That would mean like both Charlie and Elizabeth were also two parts of the same girl, and fusing them together at the end would make sense because you're just putting her back together. But I'm thinking like maybe Elizabeth, quote unquote, is what remains of Charlie after William abducted her. Or maybe he just brainwashed her into thinking she was someone else. I don't know, but
I mean, all that sounds like possible, I guess. I haven't really covered the books like extensively. I mean, I only just like finished reading them recently.
you'll love the last novel is really good.
Yeah. So
All of them really good, really.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to number two. We're only on number two on my bullet list. That the pink guy is just zoomed out purple guy, and it's a frustrating argument to make, and I'm sure you know why, but I'm getting to it. It was pointed out to you that the a lot of the differences between the purple guy and the pink guy also appear between the two sprites of the yellow fellow in Midnight Motorist. The two sprites that we have a lot of very similar differences to the purple and pink guy sprites.
That's correct. Do you have a copy of those, or should I pull them up?
Oh yeah, you can pull them up. That might be good, but I found it honestly hilarious. Because like, you know, from your perspective, you have two choices. Either the purple guy and pink guy differences don't matter as much as you thought they did, or the differences between the two sprites of Midnight Motorist mattered way more than you thought they did, and you chose the second one. And I'm not sure how to argue against that because it's consistent logic, but I just disagree with it.
Well, I'm thinking that actually hints even more that like there's two guys in one body in that mini game. I just the Five Nights at Freddy's folder was underneath your window, so I had to close it for a second. But let's see, FNAF 6 textures. You have a case where the orange guy, the guy we see by the house, is like all round and slumped over, like William, and that the sprite we have before is brighter yellow with a square head, like the other one. And it's like there's this dichotomy where these two guys have to be the same guy, but they're obviously not the same guy. They're very different. Why is that? I'm thinking this is bringing even more attention to the difference between the pink guy and the purple guy. Like the minigame is designed to make us think about that, trying to find the sprites. FNAF 6 textures. Every time I think things are organized, something always happens.
I'm open to the idea that it was an intentional like reference to the whole pink guy debate, but I don't.
Here we go. Yellow guy, and
I don't think that it's to imply that like those two sprites are of different people existing in the same body.
Well, they are literally the same person. We as the yellow guy approach the house, and the moment we get near the house, we suddenly turn from that square thing into this round thing that's darker orange. It seems like a very deliberate design choice to me. And
maybe that's Henry and William when they were together in one body, like Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, it would have to be an image from the past because in Midnight Motorist, everyone drives on the wrong side of the road. So this is not the United States. This is actually England, most like. So this would predate everything. Yeah, and it's part of why I wonder why Elizabeth has an English accent, because if she was a young kid at the time, when why would, if she grew up in the United States, why does she still have a William-like English accent? And if she was what came from the puppet, which was already able to float and probably already had some of William's remnant in it, she might have some of William's Englishness in there. So that's why I thought might explain her accent. But going back to the two guys, yes, it's a scene from England. Somebody runs away. I think it's probably William that actually runs away, like from an abusive household. That's my current reading on it.
I agree with that. It's weird when we agree on things. I'm not used to it.
Neither am I, but stranger things have happened. Lightning strike. Theme song.
Yeah.
Sorry.
but yeah, I think it um it it's simple and not necessarily provable, but it is an explanation for why the pink eye could potentially look different. That if you zoom out, um, some details have to get removed, or more accurately, if you zoom in, there's room for additional details. The most
Yet there is a
I
noticeable shade difference there.
yeah, if I had to rank them, which I guess have done in my head, um, I'd say that the different eyes are like between the purple guy and the pink guy are like the most convincing thing. I've actually asked you on a discussion before multiple times um, to name a difference, any of them, or a trait of the pink guy that doesn't appear on some form of what you believe to be the purple guy.
The white
And
eyes.
yeah, and your answer is always the eyes. So I'd say that's the best detail, but I feel like the zooming out and zooming in explanation could deal with that. Like the dots would just be like so small. And you could even make a case that Scott was going for like uh, they're just obscured by the scan lines and he's like shady and I don't know.
Well, you're assuming that there's no significance in just the yellow guys, the orange guy zoomed in to the point where it's pixelated and it looks square, but I don't think reducing the size of the orange guy would produce a perfectly square sprite like that. I
I mean
think there would be some corners.
it wouldn't if you just shrunk it in Photoshop.
Right, that's what
But
it would.
I don't think Scott would just want to do that because that seems um, you know
Square sprites are easier to animate.
Yeah.
there's that.
Well, my big rule of thumb is whenever an artist seems to have done something deliberately like this, I figure they do it for a reason, and I look for the reason. Like
I mean,
here,
yeah,
Deliberately is like open to interpretation. Like that's if you interpret something as being done deliberately. But sometimes things that you think are deliberate, Barry thinks aren't, and sometimes things that he thinks are deliberate, you think are just not important.
so I think it's just a coincidence that the orange guy and the yellow guy resemble the square and round appearances of the pink guy and the purple guy.
I mean, like I said, I think it's possible that it could have been a reference to the pink guy debate, but I don't think that the takeaway that we were supposed to get from it was that both the two Midnight Motorist sprites and the two purple and pink guy sprites are different people.
All right.
Um,
Well,
but
I think I agree with Matt Pat that the Midnight Motorist is telling that it's linked to the Take Cake to the Children, even though if it's in a different place and time. I call it like time link. They're designed to be compared and contrasted, but you also get a situation where you can try to go to Junior's, which I think is a stand-in for Freddy's, and someone doesn't let you in the door. So I'm thinking like we probably are a Henry-like entity in Midnight Motorist, and we just finished the stab and well, anyway.
so just overall, that you don't think it's possible at all that the purple guy looks different from the pink guy because he's just more zoomed in and there was opportunity for more features.
Every time I make a theory, like literally every time I make a theory, someone says, "Is it just a pattern you're seeing from what's the big convoluted word for a guy who sees meaning in everything?" It's like, "Oh my gosh, it's the picture of a Krusty the Clown in this loaf of bread or something." It's like there's a word for that, but
Pattern recognition.
sure, why not? And the thing is, this is consistent. I point out the various cases where magenta are used, and I didn't cover this earlier, but Mappa thinks that a Ballora is William's wife, but she can't be because of how the characters address each other in sister location. Like, Elizabeth at one point calls Ballora by proper name. It's like, Ballora, it's like a... But she also calls William in FNAF 6 Daddy. So William's her daddy, but Ballora is not her mom. And then you have Henry in FNAF 6, like I'm sorry, Elizabeth, calling her by her formal name, and then talks about the take cake victim as my daughter. So he's also saying logically that Elizabeth isn't his daughter.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking like Ballora is a mother, but she's not William's wife. She's not Elizabeth's mother. So I'm thinking she's Charlie's mother and Henry's wife. And
Go on.
we also see that in Ultimate Custom Night. I think that once again this is phone guy like Teen Henry, the one that was eaten before FNAF 1 by Shadow Freddy, which would ironically be like the shade of the daughter he killed at the very beginning of all this. But one thing you notice is like the only character that seems to like him is Ballora, and she's like flirting with him. It's like, we've got to stop being like this, or admit it, you wanted to let me in, and stuff like that. And she's, if it isn't Henry, she's being really creepy right there.
I mean, you just said it was Teen Henry, so she's being creepy either way. But
well, I mean, Charlie were already born by the time that Take Cake to the Children happened, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my overall theory. I think like William didn't approve of Henry marrying Ballora, so he gave the Freddy the star position to Michael, and Henry was like all up in arms over that, so he went and made Fredbear. It was a better version of Freddy, and then sabotaged the restaurant, but made his own huge company that came back and bought out the struggling restaurant. And it's like, okay, now we're doing things my way. So he's like the disgruntled oldest, disenfranchised oldest son. That's my model. Obviously, you're probably gonna object to it in many different places, but
I think it was interesting when you said like, every theory you make, someone says like, oh, or like that just doesn't matter. You said to me literally yesterday on Discord. I couldn't find the exact quote, but it was like, "Are you sure you're just seeing what you want to see instead of what's actually there?" That was what you said to me yesterday.
That's because you've said to me 500 times before that. So I just thought I would return it for once.
I mean, if it works, it works. But I was trying to. I'm just trying to get like a gauge because I don't think you actually answered the question directly. Kind of went off track.
Okay, so I say I see a pattern. You don't think it's an actual pattern. You think I'm just seeing things.
Well, the question I was going to ask is like, as opposed to the zooming in thing, you don't think that zooming into the pink guy would like produce?
Like, I don't think it would make his eye color reverse or change all of his opposite physical characteristics. No, it wouldn't turn a square sprite into a round one.
All right. Okay. The next one is a small one, but it does explain one of the details. I think it's possible that the like pink guy was made pink to better contrast against the purple car that he was standing next to in Take Cake. Because if he was the same like shade as the car, like with those thick scan lines, you wouldn't be able to see it at all.
That's true. It could be his dad's car. That's my current read on it. It could be William's car.
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen comedy in FNAF as like a prominent aspect, and I will say, the concept of taking your dad's car to murder your daughter is just hilarious to me.
Well, I don't think he entirely planned that. I think he was probably going there. It was probably Charlie's. It was supposed to be Charlie and Sammy's birthday, but Sammy doesn't like the robot, so I think he ran off. But he probably noticed what was happening, saw Michael and the rest taunting her outside the window, and saw opportunity to both give his daughter her robotic immortality anyway, even if it wasn't by bonding with classic Chica, and also found a way to punish William and his younger brother Michael at the same time by basically poisoning the original restaurant that then became a struggling restaurant and slowly died off over a few years.
There is a theory, and I was was going to mention this earlier during the Silver Knife discussion, but it's relevant again now. There was a theory that I saw like years ago, but I think it still could be possible, just not in like it just hasn't been talked about in a while. Kind of like the pink guy, that the murder in Take Cake wasn't even intentional. That those 8-bit graphics are trying to convey that the driver hit Charlotte accidentally and got to try to save her, but couldn't.
Well, he drove up beside her, got out of the car, and then stabbed her while she was still alive. So I don't think it was an
Well, I
auto
mean,
accident.
you say stabs, but that's your theory.
We
There's
literally
no
see
knife.
that in the original Take Cake to the Children.
We see a
You
knife.
don't see a stabbing. I've seen
You don't
that.
see her get run over by a car. That's what you were saying. Like, was she an auto victim? She wasn't hit by the car.
Well, I mean, it's very like not. It's not very detailed graphics. There's not a knife. If you were to take things literally, the pink guy is just standing there for 10 seconds and then he drives off. It's a deathly stare.
During which something is constantly drained from Henry's daughter.
Yeah, if looks could kill.
All right, well, I don't think she was an auto accident victim, but I agree that the knife isn't shown explicitly. I'm theorizing that the knife was used, like it was in the novels.
But as for specifically the color, a lot of these admittedly only cover one or two of the differences because there are a lot of them. But as for the color, do you think it's possible that it was specifically to contrast against the purple car?
I suppose that's a possibility, but it's. I think there's also could be meaning there at the same time.
I mean that's really just like what I'm going for is just is are my theories possible? That's
It's
the
all
question.
possible. None of this has been confirmed yet, but I see a consistent pattern of all sorts of divergent pieces of lore converging to these conclusions. They aren't things I just pulled off the top of my head. I've been hammering and refining these things literally for 5 years now. One item I wanted to go back to is the ownership of the original restaurant. Like, who controls the place? People like to say, like, William stabbed the girl outside, but that's not his style. Time and time again, we see William kill people in back rooms, secretly. And
Name the times.
all right, the novels, like the back room, he goes and gets Charlie then. And then June 26th in FNAF 4, we see William putting someone in spring body and the door closes ominously. I think that's the two-child incident. But usually serial killers have a modus operandi, a way they do things. And this is the complete inverse of Williams.
William does stab somebody in the novels.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier today, Officer Dunn.
Yeah, but not, he doesn't do this on the sidewalk outside in business hours. He makes sure he lures him inside and gets him right next to the costume and then jumps him.
How do we know? Never mind. I just think that in the games, in your theories, there is only one instance of William luring children to a back room and killing them.
That would be June 26th with the shadows, yes.
Yes, but there's only one instance of that. I don't think that's enough times to set a precedent. And actually, in my theories as well, there is only one instance of that.
Well, it was one example out of several. I was trying to establish who owned the original restaurant.
Yes, and you're doing that using like asserting Williams' MO. I have
Well, I was going.
this written.
Okay, I was going to say it didn't make sense because William owned the restaurant, so he basically sabotaged his own establishment by killing someone on the pavement outside, which doesn't make sense. But the actual argument for who owned the restaurant goes back to the interview at the start of Sister Location.
I in this long document.
All right, go do your document.
Yeah, I have an exact refutation of the claim about Williams' MO, and that's not like me just being like, what, like, man, your theories are so crazy. This is
Okay, you take
a thing that people say all the time.
present your thing.
I'm trying to find it because I think I scrolled past it and it's scrolling very slowly.
Yeah, I have that problem here too. I have like, to make things simpler, I put like 500 images in this folder, and that because there are 500 images in the folder, I can't find anything I want. So that's great.
will just read this. The opposite of a purple guy murder. In order to define that, we need to know what a purple guy murder is. What you're referring to is the notion that William Afton's style of killing, his killer signature, is luring children to the back room, most likely the safe room, of Freddy's and killing them off camera, possibly with an element of stuffing. It's a popular idea, but I must say I'm not entirely convinced. The earliest and widest spread of this idea was Game Theory's FNAF 3 video. You know why Purple Guy's signature was brought up in the first place? And then I have a quote directly from MatPat. Additionally, notice that the Purple Guy's murder takes place outside the building. This is the only time we see him murder someone outside the walls of the Fazbear building, which implies that this is likely his first victim. Serial killers often have what's known as a signature, a way of killing that's unique to him and him alone. For Purple Guy, his signature is dressing up in an animatronic costume, then luring children to the back of the pizzeria and killing them there. But this murder occurs before he developed this particular style, implying that it's the first.
So this is an exception to the rule, is what he's saying.
Yes, end quote. Please try to hear me out on this. I believe this Game Theory episode is the main reason this idea is so commonly held today, but I believe MatPat's logic was faulty. Purple or pink, whatever guy, is killing a child outside of a restaurant can either be looked at as an important detail because of Purple Guy's supposed signature, or it can be evidence against the idea that he has this signature at all. According to this game theory, there are 3 confirmed murders that Purple Guy commits. Take Cake, Go Go Go, the MCI, and Save Them. During only one of these does he dress in an animatronic costume and lure children to the back of the pizzeria, so the conclusion that this one murder sets a pattern that Take Cake to the children breaks is just flawed logic.
We're assuming all 3 is the same person, but go on.
Yeah. These flaws get amplified when you look at AFH. Hey, that's where you come in. If your theories are to be believed, William Afton only committed 1 murder in the series, the 2-child event of June 26th. The lure them to the safe room strategy was used in the MCI, but it was Shadow Freddy, the ghost of Henry's daughter, committing the atrocity, not William.
That's correct.
So basically, in your theories, 2 characters have equal claim to the signature style of killing because neither of them in FNAF's original story committed a murder like this more than once. As a side note, yes, one of Help Wanted's endings shows Bug Bunny leading a 7-year-old to the back room and stuffing him into Freddy, but the idea of William lures kids to the back room specifically had been around for 4 years and is yet another case of fanon becoming canon, just like the names of Golden Freddy, Phone Guy, and as I mentioned earlier, Purple Guy's Save Them traits becoming more associated with him than his Take Cake traits.
Well, the fandom can give people whatever names they want, but I still think like the golden bear that attacks us in FNAF 1 was actually Shadow Freddy. And one of the greatest sleight of hands was that the fandom named that Golden Freddy, not realizing that the kid victim wasn't even who we saw in that first game. But anyway, going back to my question is the motive. Why would William kill Henry's daughter outside the restaurant like this, in a way that could not possibly be hidden?
There's still one last paragraph of this explanation. If you still believe, after all that explanation, that luring kids to the back room is a signature of William Afton's, then that's great. You know why it's great? Because MatPat just gave my second answer to the question of why does Pink Guy commit the opposite of a Purple Guy murder? And it's pretty simple. If this is before the MCI, then it's likely he hasn't developed the signature yet. That's what tipped MatPat and many others off to the conclusion this was the earliest murder in the first place.
Okay, so you're assuming just the relevance, like pattern has little relevance to the motivation.
I'm saying I don't think that that is William's pattern at all, but if it is, then Take Cake would just simply be before.
Well, that was the first item I wanted to list as to one reason why it didn't intuitively seem to be William, but the biggest one would be motive. It's like, does he have an answer for why William is killing kids on a basic level?
No, I don't.
And why did the kids lock Charlie out of the restaurant in the first place?
I don't think very many people had answers to those questions back then.
Well, I think it's even more insane because I think William was actually the one in control of the restaurant at the time Take Cake to the Children happened. And here's why I think that. Like, the struggling restaurant poster says that there was a restaurant that existed for years after one bad incident happened. I'm going to try to pull it up here. That's the wrong one. Let's see. Struggling restaurant poster. Here we go. This was before a time that the restaurant was associated with any other company. And like as really as a Fazbear Entertainment is the one paying the bills from like whenever Freddy's opens onward. It's like we have a phone guy has a call where he notices something happens at the sister location that's open at the time, which would be Fredbear's. It's like this place opened in 1983. We got that in Help Wanted. We have the Fazbear coins. So like the phone guy was there pitching things for Fazbear Entertainment in 1983, and I'm pretty sure that Fazbear Entertainment was also involved in Fredbear's Family Diner, where we would have like Henry and William on stage together. And like Henry is the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. We established that in FNAF 6. He says it gets disbanded at the end after the restaurant burns down, and he's also got blueprints of like Lefty that he made just for this occasion that do have the Fazbear Entertainment logo on it. Meanwhile, William Afton is the head of Afton Robotics, which we get the scooper diagrams from Afton Robotics, and also the illusion discs from the novels also have like the Afton Robotics logo on them. It's like in this case, whenever Henry and William are working together, it is a cooperation between two companies that together they form Fear, Fazbear Entertainment, Afton Robotics, Fear. So it's like oh no, we get like call sign and all that, but the thing was, if Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment working together as early as Fredbear's, which I have established in 1982, where the heck is this struggling restaurant? Because all through this foreseeable future, all the way up to like FNAF 6, you have the two companies are there, and they're working together. And there is no window between 1982 and like the end of the timeline where you don't have this partnership. So this would have to be, the struggling restaurant would have to be before Fredbear's Family Diner. This is why I keep calling it the original restaurant. It might have, I don't know what it's named anymore. I for the longest time said it was a Freddy's, but it's like it could be like Freddy's Family Diner or something. Who knows? But they have a long struggle to stay awake, and obviously they don't have very much money, and they're getting desperate. They can't find a buyer even though they're looking for one, so they're finally going to have to close the restaurant. And then you get the start of Sister Location. Well, you have the circumstances of Circus Baby's Pizza World. All of a sudden, it's thrown with huge fanfare. They have glitter. They have all sorts of... They spare no expense to open this place as a gala moment. And obviously, they have a lot of capital to do this, which... What?
Is that in the novels or the games?
This is the games, actually, now. Like, we're talking about the trailers for... And Baby's testimony in Sister Location. She's talking about like when her restaurant was open for one day, but like the trailers say, like once the accident happened, like a whole fleet of cars came and tore everything down in a single night to cover everything up and made the gas leak and all that. It sounds like whoever put this place on had a lot of money, which the struggling restaurant would not have. Now you go back to the beginning interview where the voice actor, who is credited as being a board member in the voice credits of Sister Location, is interviewing a person we assume would be William Afton. And the first thing I'd like to note is that they're asking William for intimate details about how Baby works. Now, immediately, like I keep saying that the novels are a mirror universe to the games. In the novels, all William did was figure out Baby's method of walking smoothly. All her deeper secrets were things that Henry had. So Henry, in the novels, Henry is the master robot builder, and William is his wannabe assistant. Yet in the games, here we have these executives are asking William for why he made certain design choices, and he's not cooperating. Like he says, she can sing, she can dance, she's got helium tank built in, right? So she can inflate balloons right at her fingertips. And he tells her all these things, and the guy says, with all due respect, Mr. Afton, those aren't the design choices we're looking for. And so, right away, it's like, William is not in control of this situation. If you were the CEO, they would not be talking to him like this. They're being polite, but they're also being rather forceful. It's like, you know something, and we want to know it. Now, it's hard for me to conceive how these couldn't be representatives from Fazbear Entertainment, because 1983 on, Fazbear Entertainment signs all the checks. They own the place. And Henry owns the place at the end of the timeline, where he burns down the original restaurant at the end of FNAF 6. It's like that was Fazbear Entertainment owned it then. But did Fazbear Entertainment own it in the beginning? I don't think so.
Do you remember Barry's explanation for who the board member is?
Do you think it's a safety inspector?
Yes.
All right. Another assumption, but
I mean, is it not a possibility? Because you say that Fazbear Entertainment employee is the only possibility. You haven't.
I'm not done presenting everything. It's like there was a massive. We know that William built Baby in the games. It's like Elizabeth says, "You made Baby just for me," and she's really ticked off when he lets every other child in the world see Baby except for her. Now, my point is, at some point along the timeline, there was a massive change in plans. Baby was always supposed to be Elizabeth's alter ego, just like all the other kids have their own robot. This was her guardian. This was her Horcrux. Whatever. Baby was designed only for Elizabeth. But now, for some mysterious reason, when the place opens with this huge infusion of capital, and William forbids Elizabeth from seeing Baby. Now, why the hell would he do that unless he knew it would be a bad idea? And I also want to look at the design plans for Baby. It's like William says she has a helium tank, so she can inflate balloons. But I need to bring that up too. But you don't see the helium tank in Baby's FNAF sister location diagram, even though the air hose is still there. So I'm thinking somebody redesigned Baby and gave her a completely different purpose. But somewhere between when that interview happened and when Circus Baby's Pizza World was launched. And then we have the whole tragedy where Baby is actually a death machine who just by chance devours Elizabeth and all that. But I do not think in a million years that William, who did love Elizabeth in the games, even if he did not in the novels, he did not build Baby as a machine to kill Elizabeth. He wanted to protect her from the redesigned Baby by forbidding her from going to see Baby when the restaurant opened. He knew something, but he didn't have the power to prevent it from happening. So William isn't in control at this point. He's the master robot builder, but someone else is pulling the strings and paying all the bills. And 99 to 100, that's Fazbear Entertainment, Henry's company that just swooped in at the last minute and bought out the place. So I'm thinking Fazbear Entertainment is the invader who just made a hostile takeover of Williams' operation, Afton Robotics, and Williams' Afton Robotics was the one company that controlled the original restaurant. Which makes absolutely no sense if William himself poisoned his own establishment by murdering someone on the street outside. Why would he do that? If he owned the restaurant, wouldn't it make more sense if he just wanted to kill Henry's daughter to lure her into the back room and do his usual style? You say it's not his usual style, but just an example. There are so many other safer ways he could have done that, instead of doing it in such a way to make sure that his place, his reputation was tarnished. On the flip side of that, if Henry's side of the family is the one that's not welcome, which in Charlie's case certainly seems to be the case, that all the kids try to lock her out and all that, then it would make sense for him to get revenge on Michael, who's now parading about in Freddy, even though he's keeping Charlie locked out of the restaurant, and William, who passed his oldest son over for the youngest son, and so he does a double whammy. He makes sure that Charlie gets her immortality by taking a remnant, and also makes sure that the horrific murder tarnishes the original restaurant, so it starts losing funding, it's struggling, it needs someone to buy them out. Meanwhile, Henry goes off and makes Fazbear Entertainment over the last 10 years. He gets a lot of capital, and then, just when William's operation is ready to go under, he swoops in and takes over the place. And it's like it says, "Give me all your secrets," and William isn't cooperating. So I'm thinking Fazbear Entertainment staged a hostile buyout of Afton Robotics when Circus Baby's Pizza World was launched. And that this means that William, Afton Robotics, controlled the original restaurant at the time Take Cake to the Children happened. So I don't see why in a million years William will be the murderer and take cake to the children. He has every reason not to. And no reason I can see for that I can conceive of. The only person who seems to have gained anything from Take Cake to the Children is Henry, who suddenly shows up as the star of the next restaurant, Fredbear's Family Diner. It is better than Freddy Goldensuit. I mean, William's life work got corrupted, and the animatronics he was supposed to make as like the best friends for his family turned into monsters that started killing people. And then Michael, who was the star of the show, suddenly gets reduced to a second-tier security guard who that gets his head bitten twice, and like a
Slow down
okay
to allow like
okay.
response.
There were a lot of pieces I had to put together, but that's basically it. Everything I see from sister location so forth leads me to believe that William and After Robotics controlled the original restaurant where Take Cake to the Children happened. You can do a rebuttal now.
I would like to point out something that you said almost at the beginning of that was that in the novels all William did with Baby was like allow her to it was like
He worked on her ability to walk smoothly, and he spends like all the third book trying to figure out how Henry put part of his soul into a robot because he doesn't know that. And in the
in
what?
question is not Baby. I don't want that to sound misleading.
Well, what's the question then?
You said he spends the whole book trying to figure out how Henry got his soul into a robot. Since we were just talking about Baby, it might sound like when you say a robot, you mean Baby, but the person that Henry like put himself into that William is trying to study is Charlie.
Right.
Charlie through the teenage.
Yeah, Charlie has special things about her. She has working flesh that even though she has like fake blood, it still is capable of every other human capacity to grow. She can exercise and get more buff. She can bleed, she can eat, all these other things. Clearly that Henry was a genius when he put her synthetic flesh together and all that. But there's a contrast I wanted to highlight. Like William spends all his time in the novels trying to learn Henry's secrets. Henry in the game spends all his time trying to learn William's. Starting from the interview in Sister Location, also to the end of FNAF 6, where he says, like, I don't know how those breaths of life got into those robots. William did know that. That was his magic. He knew how to put souls in robots, and Henry spent all this time trying to figure that out. And I think that's the reason why he has to trash the company, because Fazbear Entertainment was relying on Ballora and the Funtime animatronics to do the soul harvesting. Like they could work with them, things that had already been built, but I don't think they know how to build robots like that. I don't think they can replicate William's work.
I'm not part of this debate. I just wanted to point out like an accuracy with what you said about it is true that William says my only real accomplishment was making something that could walk, but in Henry's suicide note when he's talking about the fourth closet um, and urging Jen to keep it shut, he says, quote, my old faithful partner, who I can only hope now is in a grave of his own, took what I had begun and made something of his own, something dreadful. He crafted my beloved work into something of his own and endowed it with who knows what kind of evil. I was able to stop him and seal away what he made, and you, Jenny, must ensure that the seal remains.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about, but as a mirror universe to what's happening in the games. Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit.
William did something else with Baby. He didn't just like make it so that she could walk gracefully and all that. He modified her to be a monster.
Yes,
to be
that's
something that Henry was afraid of.
in the novels. Henry, who created Baby, William modified Baby, which had been made by Henry. Whereas in the games, I'm saying that it's a mirror universe where Henry modified something that had been made by William.
Barry?
Well, I hadn't considered that uh, the the mirror universe is part of why you believe that Henry is behind the modifications of Baby. Um, as I've stated many times, you can look at it like a mirror universe, but I don't think that you can make any decisions about um, what is true in the games, just because that would be the opposite of the books if it happened. But I have a feeling that it's going to be hard to like convince you of um, like my interpretation.
Scott did say that both the books and the games were canon, even though they didn't fit together like two puzzle pieces. A mirror universe
Yeah.
would explain that. The books and the games are designed to be compared and contrasted, but they do have different stories because so many details have been flipped. Do you agree with me that in the games, William is the master robot builder and Henry's trying to learn his secrets, whereas in the novels, Henry is the master robot builder and William's trying to learn his secrets?
I I would have to say no.
Why not?
Um, well, I I'll go through my interpretation because you went on like a rant for like 10 minutes. Just explaining the whole um relationship that William and Henry have, and I think almost everything from that is the opposite way. Let me just go through that. If I were to summarize it, um, I think that uh, William's motivation against Henry, uh, killing his daughter, uh, buying out his company and running it into the ground, possibly framing him for the missing children incident and getting him put in prison until FNAF 3, um, all of that is just disproportionate retribution because William blames Henry, the creator of Fredbear, for the death of his son. That's what I believe.
So you're
As
saying you
far
still think William is in charge,
um, in charge of what?
the company?
When?
You were just saying like talking about like the Freddy's in 1983.
Um, in 1983?
Well, who do you think's in charge of the restaurant in 1983 or 1987? Okay.
In 1987, I think it's William.
Well, then what?
I you mentioned this newspaper, and it's still up. I have a completely different interpretation of this than you. I believe that this uh, is after. Well, I believe that all of the newspapers in FNAF 1 are just about the same incident, the missing children incident. Um, and I think that this is the last one describing the FNAF 1 Freddy is open in 1983, going to close down. Um, if William was in charge, why is he acting as a night guard under phone guy?
I'm putting that note to make sure I don't forget about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll continue explaining that. I believe this is about the FNAF 1 location open from like 1983 to like 85 maybe. Um, I don't know if it's exactly clear, but I think that it's the last newspaper about that restaurant, about that incident. Um, and it is
Which one are you talking about? The 5 child, 2 child, or the struggling restaurant?
the local pizzeria is said to close by year's end.
Okay.
That is the last one. You think it's the first one? I think it's the last one. And I think that they're all about the same incident, the 5 child MCI incident. That was redundant, but and I believe that the company is bought out just after this newspaper, but I think that it's Afton Robotics buying Fazbear Entertainment just before FNAF 2 instead of what you believe being Fazbear Entertainment buying Afton Robotics just before the FNAF 2 restaurant opens in 1983.
Then why is William acting as a night guard under phone guy?
Um, yes. Well, I've talked about this before. I do think William is in charge, but I also think that he is acting undercover as part of his plan to like just ruin the company. I think that's what Save Them was for. I think that's he might have like just intentionally like no good owner who isn't trying to tank the company looks at something like the Mangle and is like, yeah, that's safe for kids.
Well, I agree that William is trying to trash the company because he saw the Save Them massacre and lied to it about it to Phone Guy. Phone Guy only learns about it on night 6 after William has already assured him William is the first night guard. That goes to the day shift during Jeremy's shift, but William assures him that everything is fine, and then quickly runs away when the truth comes crashing down, so I don't think William is trying to help Fazbear Entertainment at all.
Yeah, so there is that like small just nugget of agreement there, but you know, for the most part, I think that is just him like undercover, and part of the reason I believe that like Afton Robotics is in charge. If I may go off on a small tangent,
Go for it.
we another thing that we agree on is that FNAF 4's like the bedroom defense segment, as you call it, is a like mimic of FNAF 1. That's a pretty common observation. You know, like Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, and Foxy basically come from the same places. It's definitely intended to be a reference to that. I think that the first trilogy was mirrored sort of in the second trilogy of games. I think that FNAF 4 was meant to mimic FNAF 1, FNAF Sister Location was meant to mimic FNAF 2, and FNAF 6 was meant to mimic FNAF 3. And the similarities between FNAF 3 and FNAF 6 are obvious. You know, we have Springtrap, we have everything getting set on fire at the end, we have just technology from like the Stone Age, we have luring people using audio. There's a lot of like interesting elements there, and I think the main comparison that I can make between FNAF 2 and FNAF 5, Sister Location, is the animatronics that we're dealing with. A clown-esque design, like a clown and human-based design, with a like metallic, like shiny nature, and most importantly to me, a connection to a criminal database, because that's established in FNAF 2, but in Sister Location, in the source code, we got like different directories, um, and we saw that like something about Afton Robotics was connected to a criminal institute. We saw in the source code before Sister Location. Um, so I think those comparisons are important. I think it's telling us that the person who designed the Funtime animatronics, and most likely Baby, is also the designer of the toy animatronic. And the source of money that Fazbear Entertainment suddenly has after being poor at like the cliffhanger at the end of FNAF 1, the source of that is establishes After Robotics in the 5th game. That is my stance.
Okay. I'd like to bring up a point that yes, After Robotics is still certainly a thing because we find the Scooper diagram credited to After Robotics in Sister Location. But William has been inside Springtrap for 30 years. Just because After Robotics is still a thing doesn't mean that he's at the head of it right now. Just a.
I did have a theory for a while that the company was passed down to Michael at some point and that he was in charge, but I don't think that was ever fully fleshed out.
Well, he comes in and wrecks it.
There is a new restaurant opening up that seems to have been like created by William in the Twisted Ones, despite the fact that he is in Springtrap. So that doesn't make it impossible.
Do we know when the? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Color Brothers focuses a lot on like how somebody could run an entire company whilst in a springlock suit. That is a running theme in that video.
Let's see, I had a thought just a minute. I just lost my train of thought. Or we just
Okay. Was it the paychecks thing? Because I thought you were going to mention that a while ago.
Yeah, after Fred Bazar team was paying the paychecks, you mentioned like Michael. Michael comes in and basically shuts down the sister location facility, so he's not the one that's running it. I'm actually thinking that Shadow Freddy is the one that's running it, because remember, like every animatronic escapes except Yendo, and Yendo acts very much like FNAF 1 Golden Freddy during the custom night, very much like a stand-in. And then we see like at the end of FNAF 6, the Lefty could have Yendo's endoskeleton inside. And the Lefty is definitely designed to fuse with the puppet. So it might be an example like at the end of what I think happens at the end of the fourth closet, where Charlie and Anti-Charlie recombine into one girl. Lefty basically does that by eating the puppet. So I'm thinking, but before then, the mini-babs were mentioning like they only run off when they mention like she's watching them, but Baby was there earlier, and Baby didn't scare them off. It's only when some other female person was watching them that they left. And then we have like the private office where someone else has residence there, and in night 4 we hear a voice that isn't Baby's, that keeps calling us dummy, talking about our situation, and puts us in that suit for the restaurant which looks like Funtime Chica from her old restaurant, which I think was Chica's Party World. That's another part of the timeline. I'll link my timeline here real quick if people want to read that in the meantime. But or what?
I have Chica's Party World potentially before like the first like Fazbear Entertainment or Afternoon it is the first Afternoon Robotics restaurant in my timeline, but it's like before like Fredbear's or Freddy.
Right. Well, anyway, you have that whole conversation between FNAF World and ScottGames.com, where FNAF World is using the dummy voice, and ScottGames.com is basically the escaped animatronics. They're talking about kicking out Elizabeth, and then wave by her, and then someone says, "I'm still here." And my theory is like "I am still here" is like that's Shadow Freddy, the one that says like it's me in FNAF 1, but that's my take on it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking another Afton was in charge, not William. So all these AfterBox has made absolutely dreadful things like the scooper that's designed to take living metal out of a robot and make sure it doesn't escape by keeping it warm. Like so it can't move and things like that. So someone is at the helm, but I don't think that's William, and all the evil keeps getting piled on William, and I don't think he deserves all of it.
Do you know who I think is at the helm of the like sister location facility while William is like sending Michael down there?
I don't.
Well, I've mentioned this to you before. I definitely think it's sillier than your theory. But like however you may take that, I think Hand Unit is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think that William created a device. He wanted the best for his daughter in the tragic situation that she was in, because the whole point of like the origin story of Baby from William's perspective is that he was trying to do something nice for the people that he loved, but mad science got in the way, and he ended up just hurting that loved person way more. And I think a similar thing could have happened again, but more recently to such a location. I think he created an AI that would just automatically run the facility and take care of these robots, but it was just like uncaring, and it treated the robots just horribly.
So like a rogue AI.
Yes, essentially, it just had no, sense of feelings, and I think that, um, and it was just running this facility automatically when William wasn't there, um, and I think that that could very easily be Hand Unit, because we already sort of get the impression just from Hand Unit that whoever made this whole thing, um, already it like created an AI to like automatically manage like employee schedules and just tell them exactly what to do. So the theory sort of already half confirmed. I just think that Hand Unit is the force that Baby and the gang are trying to escape, that keeps like going, putting them through this endless cycle of torment. And part of the reason I think that is because multiple times throughout the game, we see um, not only do like Hand Unit and Baby slash Ennard give conflicting advice, but we repeatedly see animatronics turning off Hand Unit and like messing with it and like disabling it. And that I think that the sister location animatronics, the Fun Times, and Hand Unit are opposing forces.
I would agree they're opposing forces. I don't know that Henry's in control, but it's an interesting idea. Like after Henry says that he's a scrap Phasma Entertainment, somehow it's still around in Help Wanted, and Han Unit is there as the announcer. So that's curious.
Yes.
Hand Unit going rogue might explain that.
Do we know that Help Wanted is after FNAF 6?
Well, again, that's theorizing. It could be before FNAF 6.
Yeah,
I'm not certain yet.
It's tricky because it seems like because Hand Unit says Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity, and then
Well, Henry says that.
Henry says that.
Yeah, Henry's the one that says it's.
Oh, yeah, I meant Tutorial Unit. I always just say Hand Unit. But yeah, like Andy Field says that, but then in VR, it Fazbear Entertainment is talked about commonly. So we're like, oh, okay, well, it's before FNAF 6 then, and then the Scrap Baby plush shows up in the DLC, and then it's just confusing. Um, that's part of why I think that that might have been the beginning. As disappointing as it may be, I think that might have been the beginning of a new continuity that we're seeing continued in Fazbear Frights. But that's a story for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
I think we've sort of reached understanding on the like like who's in control of the sister location facility. So I want to address something that you brought up in your like explanation of like William and Henry's relationship that I haven't addressed yet. The paychecks thing. Fazbear Entertainment is paying the checks in FNAF 2, so they must be the one in charge. I have never had a stable job, so I can't confirm or deny that with personal experience. But I did ask my dad about it, and according to him, um, it could go either way. Like generally, it would be the parent company more, but like like retail or like lower tier jobs typically go with the not parent company, child company. I don't know what. I don't know.
Probably
Term.
is called child.
Yeah. But I Scott has had a background in retail, so that might be worth considering.
He says he has horror stories about like a Best Buy.
Yeah, I mean either way, it's not like totally definitive. It's entirely possible that Fazbear Entertainment could be owned by another company and still have their name on the checks directly for them.
I suppose so, but if Henry's still in charge and Phasma Entertainment is his company, I think he's definitely the alpha here.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I um, I mean, I've been saying I've just been like toying with this idea. I'm just gonna go out and propose that Henry is in prison for this part. I don't think that Henry is really a part of this part of the story. I think this is after William gets Henry framed for the
Well, what time period are you talking right now?
1987.
Okay.
And I think that in 1983, the whole like MCI thing happened, and William framed Henry. Now, so I think, you know, when I say Fazbear Entertainment, I'm not talking about like Henry and, you know, a couple other people. I'm saying that, you know, someone else is in charge of Fazbear Entertainment. That doesn't particularly matter.
Well, Fungi definitely isn't in charge in FNAF 2. He objects to the alterations to Foxy and to Mangle, but he isn't able to stop it. So there's definitely someone above Phone Guy. That's why I thought like Phone Guy would be the outgrown teen form and adult Henry would be the man in the Fredbear suit.
I think William is both above and below Phone Guy, like a Phone Guy sandwich.
Okay, that's disturbing, but
Why would it make me laugh? It's so stupid.
well, maybe I have more than one copy of various people walking around, and I think like Michael's been bitten twice because his younger form was Golden Freddy, and then his teen form was the Bite of 87 victim. That's why, like in FNAF 4, the memories combined, and that's why you're seeing like both at once. So I guess some of my stuff's out there too. So whatever.
Yeah. I do want just as an additional note, like an addendum to what I just said, because I just made a connection in my head just now. One of the strange things that we agree on that is fairly unpopular. Um, we both think that the older brother with the foxy mask in FNAF 4 is the phone guy.
I'd agree.
Which means uh, we both agree that the phone guy is William's son. So I don't imagine that like William would have to try to like hide this plan. I think um, it's entirely possible that phone guy knows what William is doing and either doesn't like want to stop it or doesn't or just can't stop it.
Well, it is a weird situation where they're always using fake names to get rehired by the same company. It's almost like they're trying to sabotage it from within. Like this was our company, this was our family business, but now it's been taken over by this evil corporation, and we want to be the Duke boys and get it back or whatever. So that could be happening too.
Yeah. So the paychecks thing. Yeah, I think that we're in agreement there. Or you know, because you've explained what you think William and Henry's relationship is. I just went through my whole like list of what I consider to be alternate possibilities. Are there any more like objections you want to cover before we go back to the pink guy?
Well, I wanted to cover like I think the timing of the establishment of the sister location facility is before Fredbear's Family Diner and FNAF 2 because like the all that fun times are made out of living metal cables, but you see those very cables sticking through all the locations seemingly under their own power in FNAF 1 through 3. So that technology already exists and it's kind of gone rogue. But it's like I have a picture of it. Like the wires are growing everywhere and they seem to be organic of different thicknesses like veins. That was in my Enter in FNAF 1 video. So I'm thinking like the fun has already been made, like Baby has already been made, so that technology exists. I'm not entirely sure who made the toys. You do have a point that they do have the shiny skin, which does seem to be William's trademark. So it could be that Henry designed the original characters, but William modified them to absorb souls.
And
So
also that I will say the same person who made the toys and the person who is in charge um, made Foxy pink and white, which is also true of William designing Funtime Fox.
yeah.
I didn't mention that before.
Well, if William made the toys, they're very subpar compared to the Fun Times, so he's definitely phoning it in at that point.
I think everyone is. Yeah.
I do think William probably made Mangle though. That'd be like his old foxy suit, and then there's like his wife's endoskeleton head attached to it, so that.
My theories dictate that the Mangle was William's first animatronic experiment, bringing his rabbit back to life in the 40s.
He had a rabbit.
I mean, I think so. I don't think we have time to get into that, honestly, because Midnight Motorist is like a totally unrelated thing for most of this.
Well, I think I've covered most of my list at this point. So, what else would you like to cover?
I do have um, a couple extra retorts to the "they look different" claim.
Right.
Now, this one is just very simple, and I think we can get through it quickly. What if it were a red herring? You've mentioned red herrings before, and I don't think that I don't think they're a necessarily good like thing to just like throw around in the theory community. You can dismiss any details of red herring, but I've heard you bring up the idea before in reference to other details. So, do you think it's possible that this is just one of them?
Well, you can dismiss any idea as also a pattern seen in someone's imagination or something irrelevant too. So it's like it's sort of a grab bag there. Um. Oh dang it! What was it again?
A red herring?
Yeah. If it's been mirrored in Midnight Motorist, where we have the same situation where we have a round guy and a square guy that seem to be the same person, um, I'm thinking like that difference is important, while the similarity is also important. Like one thing you keep bringing up is like the fan art of that Pinky Pills made of the purple guy trying to lure the Take Cake kid with a lollipop, and then Scott said this was like the purple guy. Um, that how much does that actually tell us? Like magenta is a purple spectrum color, and this was art by someone who wasn't even hired yet. This is just fan art, and you could literally under my theory model where Henry and William are two parts of the same person that split apart. You could unironically say call either one the purple guy because they're both parts of the same person, even if they're opposite parts, and they have different names and personalities and all that. But calling that guy the purple guy does not give us a name. It does not say Henry is a Take Cake killer. It does not say William is a Take Cake killer. And I think especially in the latest in the room 1280 story, you'll be reading it soon. Vamp's already read it. Yeah, you have a situation where you never learn anything about that patient. Everyone just assumes he's super evil, and I'm thinking that's an analogy for William. How well do we actually know William, and how much of this wasn't just the shadows killing people? So there's potential for plenty of misdirection. I think in a mystery that's deliberate.
Well, I'll get to the well, technically, is the purple guy a thing later, but like for now, like rather briefly, would you be open to the edge? Like, if someone said that that were a red herring, like, would you fight that?
I'd certainly fight that because you need a motive. The thing I keep asking for is a motive in Take Cake to the Children. It seems to be the horror event that set off everything else. And I have a pattern where like that's Charlie, and then Henry's the one that stabs, and then tries to take over the family business with Fazbear Entertainment, sweeps back in, and then William and Michael try to get it back, and the like.
If you're asking for a motive, I've given you a motive. I think that William blamed Henry for Michael's death because Henry was the one who built Fredbear.
So you're saying Take Cake to the... Where are you... Do you have a copy of your timeline?
I will open that up. Yes.
I'd like to see like I linked an earlier one. You said that was no longer accurate. So
Yeah.
because you see like Michael literally grow up from being a tiny little kid like all the others and take cake to the children to being like the Freddy head in the MCI, and like 11 years later, it's the same head. It is the same coloration, but the hat is tiny because the head is so much larger because Michael's grown up 11 years since then. So I really think Take Cake to the Children probably is the first thing on the timeline. It would take something powerful to convince me otherwise in that case.
Yeah, I mean that is the common belief. I can't deny that. Um,
I'd like to see your timeline though.
yeah, I'm screenshotting it now. Um, I gotta do it on mobile. Because I posted it on Discord and I'm looking at it on Discord. But I have this recording the screen here. So I'll I'm not even sure that this will be like any. Oh no, I just posted that in the server. God damn it, I'm the worst.
You're not the worst. I'm the worst.
It's not a competition, man.
And being the worst, I can be weirder than anyone. Ah. Yes, I talk with this Gandalf voice at work because there's another Robert, you see, and with two Roberts, you say hello, Robert, and we both look, and it's confusing. So I act like a frazzled old wizard, and everyone calls me Gandalf now, and that's all messed up. But I love it. So yes, I'm extremely strange. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that was.
Neither do I really, but okay.
This is from the beginning of my timeline to the opening of the FNAF 2 location in 1987. That is what it covers. Um, most of this still applies today, just in terms of when I think the MCI and Take Cake and Go 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 and the Bite Victim's death, just everything like that is. Um, I I think that I, I hold the not very common belief that the MCI happens before Charlotte's death. And I think that William initially stuffed the children, and then the puppet in Give Gifts uh, wasn't literally stuffing the children, but the heads shown in that game represent the same things that the masks in Happiest Day represent. Just like, conscience or sentience or however you want to interpret it. Um, so
I think a big thing we disagree on our timelines is the relevance in FNAF 2 of like what the oldest restaurant is. Now, in my model, the tape 1 is replayed from 1983. Can we agree that with the Fazbear coin of 1983 and Phone Guy talking in FNAF 3 about a time when a sister location was open, that this, which wasn't the case in 1987, that the place has been open twice and that the first time was in 1983?
you're asking if we agree that FNAF 2 was open twice and the first time was 1983.
Yeah.
We do not agree on that.
Okay.
I believe that the 1983 restaurant where the MCI took place was FNAF 1, as we've gone over. And I'm
So you're saying that the
I flip back and forth sometimes between like whether or not I think FNAF 2 had a second opening at all, but if it does, I wouldn't think that it would need to be a separate year.
are you still saying that the are you saying the MCI happened in the central dining hall in FNAF 1?
No. It,
So you say they're two different things. In the second one, the MCI is actually in a Give Gifts Give Life, and that's a separate incident from Foxy Go Go. Is that what your
yes,
model is?
I believe that Foxy, Go Go Go, and Give Gifts are not directly related incidents.
Okay, I need to prove they're related, and I don't have one for that yet.
Yeah, I show on my time. I don't show Give Gifts, but I think that it is like around the time of the bite victim's death. like in the hospital. I think that is the "I will put you back together" speech. I think that is just basically at the same time as give gifts.
Okay. Well, part of the confusion I think is because, like I believe the FNAF 2 Night 1 tape is set in 1983 when Fredbear's is open as the sister location, and when Phone Guy is talking about the earlier location, he's referring to the original restaurant where Take Cake to the Children happened, and then later on, the the tapes were all recorded in like real time, at least within a week of when they were supposed to be played. So like he talks in the FNAF 1 tape, he says it's a summer job, which we do know that Freddy's was open in summer because of June 26th in the FNAF 1 posters. But he, uh, he that tape makes it sound like he's talking about events that happened the very week before, even though it's a tape played 4 years ago. So I'm thinking he replayed the tape because it's the same situation here in 1987. But the rest of the tapes are recorded in 1987 and talk about current things that are happening, like the investigation and Jeremy eventually being sent to the birthday party and then being replaced by Fritz Smith. All that stuff is happening real time. And when Fungi talks about the earlier restaurant in the later tapes, he's referring to Fredbear's Family Diner, which is now closed. That's my reading on it. So there are two earlier restaurants. The Night one is the original restaurant, and then the later one is talking about the now abandoned Fredbear's.
Well,
that's my reading of it.
What I think you always forget about your own theory that this tape on FNAF 2 Night 1 was like they were going to record Jeremy another tape, but it would have been so precisely similar to what they'd already recorded in 1983 that they just decided to reuse it. I think you often focus too much on the 1983 meanings of things and tend to forget that they also need to have appropriate meanings in 1987. If I ask you what a particular thing means in 1987, then like there are things that wouldn't apply to that year because they're so focused on the 1983 meaning. The way I see it, it's a theory that sets up to fail because everything that is a similarity, or everything that would also apply to 1983, is just something that isn't an inconsistency and just doesn't provide reasons that a previous tape would exist, and anything that isn't consistent with 1983 is just another reason not to reuse the tape at all.
I think it can prove that Michael was indeed employed in 1983, though. Like there are only three. Like he's the second guard to work at the facility, and in Night 7, and in Fritz Smith's pink slip says that he's only the third person. Now we know this place has been open twice because it was open in 1983. The sister location was open then, and now we're in 1987, and Fredbear's is now closed. There is no sister location, and the end of FNAF 2 says even though it's open only a few short weeks, it's closing now. And if it's open in June and November, there's much more than a few short weeks between those two dates. There had to have been a time jump at some point. In which case, Pirates Cove would have been upgraded to, or downgraded, depending on how you look at it, into Kids Cove. So I'm definitely thinking there are two different openings, and that tape is from the first opening. The tape also talks about, it warns Jeremy that, who I think is Michael Afton, that this new building has no doors to close. Which implies to me that he did work before in a place that did. I have a theory that FNAF 1 is actually a rebuilt version of Fredbear's. And part of that is, like, you see that the building, just like Baby, has been changed and repurposed between openings, because in Help Wanted, when you clip back through the wall in the FNAF 1 office, you see there's actually an exit there, past those heavy, what do they call it, cabinets. They're now blocking it. That was intended to be a way that the guard could escape. And you see exit signs above the hallways in the main common room that imply that, yes, if you go down these hallways, you will find an exit, even though they both lead to the guard room. So when this place was first open, it was designed to have this escape route, but then when it was opened a second time, someone blocked this off deliberately and turned it into a death trap. And like when Glitch Trip absorbs you at the end of the original Help Wanted, for a moment you get to look at the things through his eyes, and you have a situation where Spring Bonnie is on a stage in front of an empty floor. Like all the tables are suddenly gone, even though you can see it's clearly the same room. This looks like Stage 01, the Stage 01 minigame to me, where there are no tables. It's like a dance floor. And I'm thinking like this, we're looking at Fredbear's for that split second before we fade out. So I think FNAF 1 is a rebuilt Fredbear's. And FNAF 2 is a different building, and MCI happened in FNAF 2. And, okay.
I think that of the... I see there as being like two primary buildings, in 1983, being the what would eventually become the location of FNAF 1 and Fredbear's. And I don't think, or I'm completely open to the idea that at some point both of those were Fredbear's, including the FNAF 1 location. So I see what you're saying as that that's totally possible and totally valid. I'm not gonna argue with that.
Are you seeing my theories of a possibility?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can both agree that each other's theories have possibility.
But I think as for you look at the FNAF 2 Night 1 phone calls inconsistently, and there are weird things that, like the Summer Paradox video opens with just listing all of the things that are just weird about FNAF 2's work schedule as it's being presented in the game. And as you work out those issues, you're also working out the issue of, well, which restaurant was open during the MCI. You're solving the problem of FNAF 2's work schedule at the same time that you're finding a restaurant that meets all of
It's all the criteria
requirements that needs to be open during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the criteria that it needs to be open during the summer at some point. It needs to geographically accommodate having the MCI and or Go Go Go, whether or not you think those are two separate incidents, and it needs to have the classic animatronics at some point.
Well, I think the MCI happened at a location other than the original restaurant, because the struggling restaurant talks of being open for years after a bad incident, and the FNAF 1 posters, the other posters talk, the 2-child and the 5-child talk about the restaurant being in bad shape and closing soon after. Like they notice the sanitation problems, and the location where the MCI happened was closed shortly after it happened. It didn't linger for years, so that's not the struggling restaurant.
I don't think the 2 and 5 kid posters talk about the restaurant is soon closing. They seem to imply that the restaurant is struggling, but then the poster that you think is about the first location and that I just think is about the FNAF 1 location, that one says that it's been struggling for years. So leading from this restaurant is struggling after this recent incident to it's been struggling for years now, I don't see that as an inconsistency.
I didn't. Which one are you? Which place and time are you referring to right now?
Well, I'm saying you think that I'm trying to avoid calling it the final newspaper because you think it's the first one. The struggling restaurant poster says that something has been struggling for years, and you're asserting that this like Flat Child poster is saying that like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been fighting an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. If you lead from one newspaper, this restaurant is struggling after this recent event, to then another one saying this restaurant has been struggling for years. If it's years later, I don't see an inconsistency there.
Well, it's there are two things actually on the struggling restaurant poster. Like one bad thing happened years ago, and it's been staying open since then, which immediately eliminates like FNAF 2 because it was only open a few short weeks. And then it's looking for a buyer, but it doesn't have another partner company. So like the other criteria, first criteria, one bad incident stays. Well, that's actually the first one. If you places two or more, then that cancels it out. So I'm thinking like both Save and the MCI happened at the FNAF 2 location, but you disagree on that. But if the struggling restaurant has to have had one bad incident and only one bad incident, and then tried to stay open for years after that, and also not be affiliated with any other company. So like you have like three sets of criteria there that you have to fit in the timeline. So this is a solo company before the Fear partnership. And if you want to say the struggling restaurant is later in the timeline, you have to tell me a point in time where Fazbear Entertainment and Afton Robotics are not still together.
Well, I don't think that they're together. I don't think that they're like not still together when the FNAF location is open in like 83 to like 85. I just think that they weren't together yet. I think that they first, you know, you think Afton Robotics bought out Fazbear Entertainment, creating the Fear partnership. I think that Fazbear, or no, you think Fazbear Entertainment buys Afton Robotics, creating the Fear partnership. I think Afton Robotics buys Fazbear Entertainment, creating the ARF partnership. That's what I call it.
ARF?
ARF.
That's it. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And I think that happens like long after the MCI. I think that starts in 1987. I think that because your criteria included one bad incident, not two, but
right.
As you might have thought, and as you would be correct to think, but as you might have noticed, I believe that the MCI and Go 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 both happened at this restaurant and are two separate incidents. Whatever will I do?
So you think?
Well, I think it's entirely possible Go 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 was after this newspaper.
Okay.
So a newspaper reports that one bad incident happened years ago, and now the straw that broke the camel's back and forced Henry, or whoever was in charge of Fazbear Entertainment, to sell, to accept that they have to be bought by Afton Robotics, even if it will just like destroy the company. That final straw was Go Go Go. My theories.
All right. Maybe I'll highlight this one more time.
So I think that meets all your criteria, if I'm not mistaken.
So where are you saying the struggling restaurant is again?
I'm saying that it is the FNAF 1 restaurant opened in 1983 to 1985, where the MCI and Go 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 take place. And that newspaper, the struggling restaurant poster, happens in between the MCI and Go Go Go.
All right, I'm looking at the graphic. I'm trying to find where that is on there. If you made like an updated graphic, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have like the motivation, like the FNAF side. And also, like, I want to be more sure about certain things before I tackle something like that. Like, I'd like to have the shadows somewhere on there.
Yeah.
And I need to. That'll take a long time to figure out.
Well, the shadows definitely seem linked to the two golden suits. Like the Shadow Bonnie in FNAF 2 has the bow tie. and so forth. And that's like, it also has 4 upper teeth, which Toy Bonnie doesn't have. And definitely looks a lot larger. So I'm thinking Spring Bonnie definitely has something to do with a Shadow Bonnie, and certainly like Fredbear has something to do with Shadow Freddy. You see the purple shadows on both in FNAF 4.
Yeah, and as I pointed out many times, there are no other shadows in FNAF 4's minigames. Like a lot of people assume that those are literal shadows. I'm highly skeptical of that, just because there's no, like, nothing else casts a shadow, and it's especially not purple. The only other thing that you could consider a shadow is the safe room. When we see William and Spring Bonnie standing in the safe room, like behind them is just black. You could say that room is, in shadow. But thank you. That if you count that as a shadow, that just goes to prove even more that these two purple shadows are not normal. Especially considering that when you finally get to the ominous screen with Fredbear and Spring Bonnie staying on the stage, the lights are pointed at them, and there's a shadow on the back of Spring Bonnie. There would need to be a shadow, or there would need to be a light pointed towards the back of the animatronics, lighting up the back of them in order for a shadow to be cast in that direction.
You sure there's a shadow at the back of Spring Bonnie?
Yeah, the back of Spring Bonnie is like darker. He's like brown.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, I think he's the same color as Fredbear. It's just like
Well, we actually run into a brown Spring Bonnie in the Twisted Ones, though. It was in the back room when Charlie's like running through the Restaurant of Doom. It's like you see that for a moment, and it's braced as if for an attack.
I think it was, what was it called, like a jackrabbit or something?
That's what I call it. But brown Spring Bonnie, and it's like.
You happen to know like the page number or the chapter?
I'll bring up Kindle here. Assuming there's enough memory for it to run. This is my old machine. I still haven't transferred everything over yet. I found sometimes I try to open Photoshop with other things up, and it barks at me. Okay, it's the Twisted Ones. I'll just put this on the main. I'll just put this on the main screen for a second here. Okay, so search. Oh wait, I think I'm right there. Okay, here's Charlie running through the place. Oh, wait a minute.
Found it. Here it is. A rabbit stood at the back. Its head was brown like a jackrabbit, and its ears were swept back, but its eyes were just empty holes. The rabbit's body was hunched to the side, and its arms were short, held up as if in surrender.
Yeah, 2 metal frames stood out in front of it. One was headless, the other was red-eyed, sovereign black wolf. Yeah. Okay. I think that's actually the suit that belonged to Michael's mom. Because you notice it has the golden eye, and earlier on there's some golden text talking to us, even though we are Golden Freddy. And you see Broken Mangle in like the girls' room, and the primary head is inactive. Only the secondary head seems to have lights on, and it can't put itself back together. And I'm thinking that brown Spring Bonnie is where the second head on Mangle came from.
That's page 242 in my copy, by the way.
Yep.
Yes. So does I guess there might be a Barnspring Bonnie. I just hadn't assumed that.
Every time you think you're at the bottom of the rabbit hole, it gets deeper. That's been my experience. So I still don't know how deep it goes.
Rabbits this time. Every time you think that there's no more rabbits in FNAF.
Yeah, here's the broken mangle sprite.
I thought Bunny Call was gonna give us one more. It gave us like at least 2.
Yeah.
The more the island of knowledge increases, so does the coastline of the unknown.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the topic was. So does the FNAF 1 location, as I've presented my beliefs about it, open in the early 80s, meet your criteria for the MCI location?
I still don't entirely see how it all fits together.
Well, that
I don't see how the MCI can be before Take Cake to the Children.
I mean, well, that is a separate issue. The idea that Take Cake is after the MCI, and the idea that that the MCI happens at the FNAF 1 location aren't mutually inclusive. But yeah, I don't know if that's even going to be a good thing to debate about, because I can just see that.
Well, we could always go take some notes and come back and debate again. It's looking like we're at the point where we're having to look stuff up now. So
yeah,
our prepared material is all done.
Something which I put off until later. We seem to have moved past the whole go thing. I have yet to present the. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to finish a previous discussion. The number one piece of evidence against the pink guy theory, the Scott Coffin comment
about Pinkie Pie's fan art. Not Pinkie Pill's fan art. Okay, I'm a fan of My Little Pony. Sue me.
Somehow I could tell.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So I have the links.
Right.
This is at the top of the document. Not even the debunk document. I have these 2 links on the first page of my mega theory doc, because I think.
Okay, can you put them in the chat?
Yeah. This is Exhibit A. Whoops. Yes, that is Exhibit A. Exhibit B, if this would be so kind as to load. I'll just copy and paste Scott's comment that he left on this.
Yeah.
It's tricky. I need 2 links because the image is out there on the internet, but it's been removed from this Reddit post. So
Okay.
it just says delete, and then the comment is on that.
It takes a while to look up links. I spent 2 hours before the interview getting all these images together.
Yeah. That is what Scott said. I have to hand issue, you really know how to make Purple Guy creepy, and I mean really creepy in a way where he even creeps me out. Now, from what I understand, you have, and
I have 2 possible debunks to that.
Yeah, but first, let me just go through why this is important. This, as we can see from the car, it is a depiction of Take Cake as a Children in the car, and the singular victim. This is the Take Cake killer as interpreted by Pinkie Pills. And this is before she was hired to do anything official regarding FNAF. And if I've searched through her old posts, I've looked through every drawing she's ever done. There is no off chance that Scott had interpreted this as like purple guy in a pink guy situation and was commenting on that like AU fan art or whatever. Because there was no indication that if the pink guy theory were true, that this was instead the purple guy. So it's just, this wasn't official like purple guy design yet. It was just a guy there, and then Scott called him the purple guy. And I think that's
Well, the whole world, most of the world believes he was the purple guy, so it
I
would be
also
alarmed if he called him anything different.
I also think it's important to remember that not only did Scott say that that was the purple guy, which you could argue is technically true if like Henry were a part of the purple guy or whatever. Not only is that true, but Scott hired her and must have said at some point, "Hey, you know that drawing you did of the Take Cake Killer? That should be the official design for William Afton."
But was it though? I don't think so.
Is that this picture? Are you putting into question whether or not this is William?
Well, William looks a lot different in the graphic novel. I got a group picture of him with Henry, and they almost look like twins.
They might look slightly different, but I'd attribute that to like time constraints.
Hold
like,
on.
the hair, the outfit.
I mean, white men all look the same to me, but that does look a lot like William in the book. We only have one really good picture of like original William, and it's not that one. There's another one.
I thought that's Henry.
Yeah, that's Henry. I'm looking for the picture. I'm looking for the picture of like the day of the abduction. I guess I don't have that queued up right now.
Yeah.
Well, the abduction still doesn't show his face. It's a Seymour Clay is looking at the picture of Dave and William side by side. That is the only one that we have of his face.
Oh, where did I put that? Where did I put that folder? Oh, here it is. Okay. Graphic novel folder.
Barry's got it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's. Well, I guess not a purple bow tie.
Hey, he has a gold bow tie instead of the usual red one, and Henry's wearing the red bow tie.
Well, I mean, he has a purple one in the fan art. Is what I'm saying.
Regular Spring Bonnie in the regular game says purple bow tie, as evidenced by my plushie. Oh look, my plushies became relevant.
Also, here's a picture of Henry in another time and place. It's like they look really similar to me.
What, Henry
and William, yeah.
Like,
except for the obviously the gray eyes that keep pointing out. But even then, like the day of the attack, let me see if I can find that one.
What two things are you saying look similar?
The two men. They look like they're definitely related.
Which two things?
Henry and William. And the picture you posted above.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I think that a lot of characters, like Henry, also looks a lot like John in the graphic novel. You might find significance to that. I think Pinky Pills only knows how to draw like two faces.
Well, I mean, if you look at the hair, in the like picture of in the two pictures of Henry and William together in the graphic novel, we can see like Henry's hair, and you can see that in the picture that you just posted, and it's definitely different from the hairstyle of the Pinky Pills drawing, which is more in line with the novel William.
Oh, I can't seem to find the.
I mean, the way I see it.
Still looking for an image. I got a bunch of them here, but I can't find the right one.
And I mean, hey, if you want to find significance in the magenta lollipop, then you go for it. But
No, it's fan art there.
I'm just saying.
Also, I don't think a lollipop was actually employed during that scene. No, there was a picture of the day of the attack where Spring Bonnie seems to have different colored eyes. I'm trying to find that one. And like the shot is set up to such a way that it's hard to miss. I posted it on Twitter.
You posted that on Twitter. Yeah.
Maybe I should find it on Twitter. Why in the world can I not find that again? I have to remember what part of the story the memory actually appears in. It's not chronological with the rest.
Could help, but I donated my physical copy of the graphic novel to him, and I don't know where the hell he put it.
Okay.
I don't know where that is.
Don't lose your sister's comic.
Oh, I think it's up there.
I mean, I have my own copy now. I have a digital copy for making memes.
Okay. Here it is. Okay. I'm just posting interesting things now, but like the graphics, especially in the lower right, are designed to show you that there's a slight golden tinge to the eyes inside Spring Bonnie. Or there are so many other pictures where William's gray eyes are like just popped out super large.
But I think it's important to note that in the graphic novel, Henry doesn't have irises at all. Like in every shot of him that we're explicitly told is Henry, he doesn't have irises, whereas the Fredbear Killer has like gray irises.
Well, are we sure of what color Henry's eyes are then?
We have no idea what color Henry's eyes are. I think his eyes are just white.
Well,
yeah, it's like whenever you see William, usually the gray eyes are like, they make a point of putting them on the page. So
if Henry's eyes were canonically white, that'd put like an interesting spin on the pink eye debate.
Well, mirror universe, so it probably would be white.
Oh, maybe.
But like the shot of Henry and William together, like it's so jarring. Looking at their eyes, like William looks fucking crazy just because his eyes are so much bigger.
Yeah, because of the gray eyes are. Yeah, we're supposed to know that William has gray eyes, but we don't know what color Henry and some of the other ones have.
Which I was going to get to eye color at some point, because I did, have something to say about that. I might as well just cover it now. I don't see any particular reason why not. I'm gonna repost that image from before by Loch Ness Otter. I didn't notice this until this image pointed it out. FNAF 4 William doesn't have like the black eyes with the white dots. They're just white dots. They're just completely white eyes. And I hadn't noticed that before because I feel like if you're suggesting a huge difference between black eyes and black eyes with white dots, then just completely white eyes feels like an entirely third thing. What I had actually proposed to Casey earlier was, I believe, in both of our timelines, the earliest appearances of the purple/pink guy would be the pink guy in Take Cake and Go Go Go, and the FNAF 4 purple guy Easter egg. Those are like earlier than all the other like purple guy sprites that we have. So what if those were from a time when William was completely human and alive, and when we see the like black eyes with the white dots, he is like he isn't totally human anymore. He's very possibly dead.
It's a possibility. I still don't have a perfect explanation for why the weight loss happens. It's like someone just took half of his body mass after Charlie got abducted, and I was theorizing at one point that to get revenge, Henry might have actually drained half of William's remnant and put that into his new android girl, because William tells Charlie, our Charlie, at one point that you have something that belongs to me, and doesn't specify what that is, but she does have a soul though, because she can interpret the meaning of emotions. Well, Baby tells us that even though she had memories from Ella, she didn't understand them until she devoured Elizabeth and gained a soul. So somehow our Charlie acquired a soul, and I'm wondering whose it is. Something stolen from William, or I've wondered for a while if she might actually be Sammy, just misremembering what happened that day.
What about the possibility that, like, do you think that it's possible that characters in FNAF could have artificial souls, like, that aren't from a human person, but that were just created from nothing?
I mean, like create like from just raw emotions, like agony, or like an AI or something, or
Possibly. I'm really just bringing this up because, like, I love robots, and like the concept of robots being sentient is something that appeals to me.
I mean, I'm not sure there's any scientific basis for what a soul is.
well, we're dealing with FNAF's universe, and in this universe, mad science actually works. So
Yeah.
that's just something we have to roll with.
I'm just saying, I want the robots to go to heaven.
Yeah, I think there are definitely souls in the robots. I mean, that's confirmed by Henry at the end of FNAF 6. Like, give up your souls, they don't belong to you. They've been collecting children's souls the whole time.
They all belong to William. Yeah. So that was like the eighth possibility that I forgot to write down was that the pink guy, right, and possibly the FNAF 4 Easter egg as well were from a time when William was completely human and he lost his humanity at some point.
Oh,
It's also possible that because actually, I believe the FNAF 4 Purple Guy to be the earliest depiction of William at all. So it's possible that the mirror universe, So I think it's entirely possible that the illness or tragedy that's described in the novels could have taken effect from the bite victim's death.
I don't have a perfect explanation for William's transformation yet. He does claim to be fully human even in the third novel, even after he's been alive in the cubbyhole behind Pirate's Cove for a year and has like 10 pounds of flesh left. So that's really interesting. Just being full.
Like, it's not something he's admitting happily.
Yeah, it's like something keeps being drained from him the whole time, and he also seems to have been enhanced. Just because you're human doesn't mean that you haven't had like robotic enhancements. Like in the Silver Eyes, like they punch him, and his skeleton rights itself as if like from some inner hydraulic system, like we see Michael Afton do at the end of the Sister Location Custom Night. He just somehow levitates back up to his feet, even though no human would ever move like that. So,
Sure.
so I think William's been enhanced, but he's still human. But the question then would be, what are the nature of those enhancements, and what happened to the rest of them? That questions I still don't have perfect answers for.
Well, yeah. I'm just trying to think of like what else to cover on the topic of the pink guy. I also briefly mentioned before. Well, I don't really go into this. It would be very easy for Scott to prove to the entire community that the purple guy and the pink guy were different people. All he would have to do is show purple guy in all his purpley goodness, definitely William Afton, and the pink guy being pink, not like in a Fredbear suit, not like but behind a phone or a cassette, not in a foxy mask, to show him being pink as he is in the pink guy sprite.
He could have just called the Take Cake Killer William. But did he do that?
No, because he didn't want to spoil the book. It had like just come out.
Right, it's a mystery. It's like the mystery author is not going to give people the keys to his mystery without a fight. What?
Yeah, that is not what I meant by spoiler at all. He didn't want to spoil that the purple guy's name was revealed in the book.
Okay.
It's like if you hear the like
if Scott had said William, most of the replies would be "Who's William?" and then the replies to that would be "Go read the book."
Wasn't this long after the Silver Eye has been published, though? Well,
It wasn't that long after. It was only like a couple months. It was before Sister Location happened, and I know that Sister Location was what motivated most people to read the book. Like, because
they confirmed that the details are actually relevant.
Yeah, people didn't like the
one of my heretical ideas coming to fruition.
Like most people didn't read The Silver Eyes until Sister Location came out.
I read it shortly after it came out.
That does kind of invalidate your point, Barry, because if him calling the Take Killer William would have spoiled the book, then Sister Location calling him Mr. Afton would also spoil the book.
Well,
most people still
no, because that's not true. We are introduced to this British person named Mr. Afton in Sister Location, and if you haven't read the book, you don't know that that's Purple Guy. If you were to call a clear depiction of Take Cake William, then that would be instantly like click in people's minds that was Purple Guy's name.
Anyway, I think there's sufficient nebulousness around Scott's announcement that Magenta could be purple. Henry could have been a part of William and thus still count as being William and thus still being the purple guy. There are different ways to look at that. I do not look at it as a 100% carved in granite declaration, and I don't think that a mystery author would have a motivation to do such. He wants to keep people guessing for as long as possible.
You are just assuming Scott's intentions with very little precedent.
As you have many times tonight.
My biggest problem, I think, with the they're technically the same person, is that Scott has also stated directly that the purple guy and the phone guy are not the same person.
Well, yeah, the phone guy is Henry. In my model, anyway.
Yeah, I know that, but you're missing my point. Why would he say that the purple guy is not the phone guy if the phone guy was the pink guy, and then go and say that the purple guy is technically the pink guy?
Well, it's like when he clarified that Michael Afton was actually our character in Sister Location. Things had gotten so freaking confusing that he was worried, I think, that it was all going to fray apart, so he gave us a little tidbit of information.
What he was worried about wasn't like Michael being the sister location protagonist. The thing that he actually, I think what you're talking about is when he corrected Mike Trap. A lot of people thought it was in Springtrap, and Scott cleared that up in a Reddit post. But that brings it into question even more. Mike Trap was a debate for a shorter amount of time and caused what I'm going to declare, and I may be wrong about this, as less chaos than the pink guy theory. Why would he not, like, assuming that the pink guy is Henry, why would he have now waited over 5 years and still not clarified it when Mike Trap was only a thing for what, like a year, half a year, and he clarified that, and it was pretty evenly split in the community.
Perhaps he didn't want to repeat of the. He learned from the first incident, didn't want, and decided to reveal something more quickly in the second.
Yeah, I mean, but he can easily reveal himself now, though. If 99% of the community is wrong about one singular thing that you're trying to say, then why would he not have clarified that?
Because it's a mystery and we're supposed to solve it. It's not supposed to be easy.
Why would he clarify anything?
Yeah.
He's clarified remarkably little things over the last several years, so...
Mike Trap was a pretty big thing. And so was 87 versus 83, which...
I spent years trying to convince people that Charlie was a robot. It's like, I remember that battle.
That is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, that's
Is it, though? Okay.
What?
If you say so.
We're not arguing about the popularity of your theories. We're
Mike.
trying...
Okay.
We're trying to assert the fact that Scott generally corrects things if most, or at least a significant portion of the community is still confused about it.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions about what Scott does and why he does them, and I'm not sure we can back any of them up, really.
Well, you don't. Well, you make assumptions about his. What's the difference between us saying that Scott clarifies things because the community doesn't understand, and you saying that Scott doesn't clarify certain things because it's a mystery?
Well, there are several possibilities at this point, so I'm not certain what the truth is, and
Is what we're saying a possibility then?
What?
Is what we're saying a possibility?
Which one that the purple guy is just William Afton and he decided to wreck his own place? I don't see any logical way in which Henry can be in control of the original restaurant during Take Cake, or that how Take Cake can be after the MCI. So
here's my other question regarding Scott's comment, and we can move past that after this if you wish. But why is there so much focus on you trying to theorize on how Scott's statement could be technically correct when Scott being 100% honest in all of his Reddit posts and like all of his internet statements for you has just gone out the window?
Why do I remind people that there are other possibilities when about the Take Cake killer? Because everyone talks to me as if it's already a done deal, as if it's dead, as if it's over, as if they absolutely know 100% surety that it's William. And nothing I see after 5 years of research tells me that's the case. That's why I keep doing this. This is not a done deal, and I guess I get mad when people talk like it is. There are more possibilities to the situation. We've highlighted some of them tonight.
You are trying to explain why Scott's statement was technically correct.
Mystery writers love to give unclear, nebulous statements that force people to think and argue and generate more interest. It's just how things are done.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, why are you focusing on theorizing in ways that make that statement technically correct when you have directly opposed Scott's statement before? Like, you have just declared certain things.
Name one thing. Give me a specific thing, not a generality.
That he didn't plan out the FNAF games.
how can most of the timeline be in the FNAF 1 posters if he didn't plan these out in advance?
That's not the question here. It's
Isn't
did
it?
Scott lie when he said that the games weren't put out?
I don't think any of us know fully why Scott does anything. All I'm saying is,
You know why he did that.
well, you're saying you know the mind of Scott Cawthon perfectly without any possibility of being wrong. Isn't that what
No.
you're accusing me of?
You know that that's a straw man argument, Barrett.
I'd like to see more specifics.
I don't know how it can get more specific. Do you or do you not think that when Scott said he didn't plan out the games, that was a lie?
I can't see how that's a true statement. I think he probably added some. Well, what was the exact wording of it? Because I think the outline was in place. This is like J.K. Rowling made the Harry Potter books out of an outline, but was more stuff added along the way? Certainly, like the security puppet. That was an upgraded version of TK. I have no doubt that he added things along the way as necessary or as inspiration struck. He did not have everything planned, but I do think that he had an outline in place that he's using to settle all these events into a solvable pattern. So I need to see the exact wording of what he said, because that is federal right here.
I'm pulling up a transcript of what Scott said in the interview with Dr.
It's very easy for people to assume that a statement means something even when it doesn't, especially in a mystery. All I'm just saying is many of my crackpot theories, like Charlie being a robot or two men involved in Freddy's, they keep falling into place. It was a part of a pattern I saw a long time ago. When the Silver Rice came out, it's like, aha, there is a second guy, and it boggles my mind to this day that there's so much controversy over saying that there's more than one killer. There's been more than one killer for years now.
You tend to act as if you're the only person making theories that get backlash. You're the only person whose theories.
Am I? This is your opinion right now. I guess I feel. Go on.
Yeah. I think that what Barry is trying to say is that like other people can make theories that are unpopular that end up being true. I've in the past I have insisted that and I know that I'm not meant to be talking about my theories. I'm not trying to like prove my theories or anything. Yeah, but I asserted that the novels had canon relevance back when everyone thought that they didn't.
Good on you.
When a lot of people thought that they didn't, and then Sister Location came out and basically confirmed that at least some things that were in the novels are actually in the games. I also thought FNAF World would have canon relevance when everyone thought that was a crack theory that FNAF World was just a weird outlier and had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And then suddenly FNAF World characters were in main series games. Now, just because I've made unpopular theories that ended up being correct doesn't mean that every unpopular theory I have now is going to be correct.
I just wanted to fight the trend that many people tell me my ideas are silly or stupid, and I think that's a really dangerous attitude to take when theorizing. It's like, what if the example I love doing is Scabbers the Rat in Harry Potter, because if you told someone that you think Ron's pet rat is a supervillain before the reveal, they would have told you you're nuts. It's like this rat that's 12 years old, even though they only live to 3, and that keeps screwing off and reporting to who knows what, and somehow Voldemort knows details that only someone who's actually in Henry's bedroom would. Oh, good grief! It's brain energy sitting low. Harry's bedroom would know, and you have. There's all sorts of, in retrospect, there's all sorts of things that point to Scabbers being a spy for Voldemort. But you'd only see that pattern if you asked yourself that crazy question. It's like, is Ron's pet rat a spy? And It's just the sort of really outlandish idea that might just be true in a mystery, and was in the case of Harry Potter. And this is the. I just keep getting told that my ideas are stupid, that they're unpopular, and I guess maybe I get personally annoyed by that sometimes. But going back to theories that were unpopular that turned out to be true, Andy Matronic, she suggested that the purple guy might be innocent, and I think she was actually right in spite of her attraction. And the same thing with 8-Bit Gaming. They're the ones who published the name, the pink guy, in the first place. I saw that, and when I was looking for, like, how can Phone Guy be the villain and yet a victim at the same time, and be dead, and yet here's someone else menacing us in FNAF 1, I realized there's gotta be more than one person doing this. And that was about the time the pink guy video came out, and it's like, aha, okay, that makes sense. And so I rolled with that, and I've been rolling with that ever since I made the Color Brothers video long ago. And even though I've replaced almost everything in the Color Brothers except the two villain theory and the mad scientist theory that someone is deliberately putting souls in the spring suits, those things still seem to hold up today, so I keep going with them. And I keep finding more things going down that road. And as long as I keep doing that, I see no reason to stop. And in terms of seeing things that I don't want to be true, in terms of other people having unpopular theories that might still be true, I still agree with Matt Pat about the Nez theory. I spent like over a year studying Undertale, specifically trying to debunk the Nez theory after he went on the whole like Pink Eye Truthers Club thing. It's like, two can play at this game kind of deal. But instead of finding things that debunked it, I found more evidence that supported it. And that is in my Asriel Has Two Souls document that you can find in the video. That's a video I have to make after the After Family Horcruxes, but yes, I can understand that if evidence goes against a theory, I must change my theory to match the evidence instead of trying to warp the evidence into what I want to be true. I know that's a death trap for theorists, and it has to be avoided. The pink guy still makes sense to me, and I keep finding more things going down that route.
Well, can I ask you, what evidence could you possibly see that would disavow of the pink guy theory? Like, if it actually isn't true, how would, like, what would be different from what exists now?
If Scott actually flat out went and said that yes, it's William Afton, no, it's not Henry, I'd have to accept that. But he has not said that, even though many people have said that he has, in spite of him just saying it's the purple guy. Multiple possibilities exist in the situation, even with Scott's comment, and I have to keep explaining that to people because they.
Yes.
Okay.
Multiple possibilities exist, and I am asserting that includes the intuitive possibility.
Well, we'll have to see, I guess. So what would convince me if the pink guy was wrong? Well, with every iteration of FNAF that's come out since then, it's only strengthened my conviction that this is the right course. Like, the Silver Eyes came out, they would prove that yes, two guys run Freddy's. Freddy's requires two guys in order to run it because both the control rooms control half the animatronics each. And then you have like Henry and William going back way in the past, where I think the Restaurant of Doom was actually built long before the Twisted ones. Because part of that complex was where Henry sealed away the Twisted animatronics along with the fourth closet. That's been down there for a long time. And it is.
Everything is described as being like shiny and new and clean.
Well, William just escaped and went and fixed the place up. But I think that place has been down there for a long time. My reading on it, anyway. I'll have to go back, and it's a matter of going back and combing through the novels with a fine-tooth comb to find clues as to what happened when. But I think the Restaurant of Doom under Henry's house is very old.
I mean, I think the thing that gets me is, like, Casey didn't ask me the question that he just asked you because I basically already answered it. It would be so incredibly easy for Scott to, like, confirm the pink guy theory that I think it's astounding that he just wouldn't do it by accident. If he's just proceeding with the, you have to actively design the games around the fact that people already think the pink guy is William, and
Are,
then
are,
keep that.
are you sure he's done that? Because Sister Location made William look like a victim to me. Like Fazbear Entertainment bought him out and redesigned Baby, and I think that might actually be why he stuffs Henry's children on June 26th in revenge for Elizabeth.
If we just like, if we just saw a sprite of the pink guy being pink and the purple guy being purple in the same room, even just having a sprite that was more pink than William's other sprites would signify to me that him being pink is significant, because he's just been purple since then. The pink guy wasn't in FNAF World. Coffee was. And to my knowledge, Scott has never uttered the words pink guy on public forum.
I would argue that we actually have seen additional group photos of Henry and William together even in the games. Because, like, Foxy Go-Go, in Foxy Go-Go, William is the one wearing the cartoon mascot suit and becomes the one who's convicted of the MCI, as pertains to the FNAF 5 poster. That's why I had to hack.
That William and Henry have never been on screen together. It's that the purple guy and pink guy sprites have never been on screen together, because that would be incredibly unambiguous. There would be no way to misinterpret that.
Right,
Whereas
and
Foxy and the pink guy, people can interpret that Foxy might not have a person in him.
one, this is a question you should be asking Scott instead of me. Two, are you really amazed that the mystery creator hasn't ruined his own mystery?
Wouldn't you consider...
Is he obligated to tell us every answer? I don't think so.
Wouldn't you consider clearing up the mic trap thing to be ruining the mystery?
Considering how incredibly complex FNAF was and how very little of it people actually understood, I think he was just trying to keep the train on the rails at that point.
How? Okay. How is the train not off the rails? If 99% of the community is wrong on one particular subject, how are we still on the rails by your metric?
Do you remember people keep mentioning the October update, where he specifically praises MatPat's FNAF 2 video and said he got almost everything right?
Yep.
Well, first, that itself could be open to interpretation, because what exactly did he mean? Did he mean that MatPat found everything within FNAF 2 that was ever capable of being found, and therefore you should look elsewhere? That its FNAF 2 is utterly solved? Or did he mean, like, of the things that MatPat did find, most of them were correct? Because I keep looking at the child drawings and the metal wires sneaking through the place, and I keep finding new things in FNAF 2. So I'm of the opinion that MatPat was mostly right about what he found, but he didn't find everything. So declaring FNAF 2 to be dead is very premature. And then he also said, as part of that the community found most of the third game. And then the part that no one seems to remember is that he said that the story was completely hidden in FNAF 4. Like, people didn't even have the beginning of it. And if FNAF 1 through 4 is supposed to tell a coherent story, we really don't know the story at all. Now, if the novels are a mere universe to the story of the games, which they seem to be time and time again, it means that the story of the games must at least be as complex as the novels to cast such a detailed reflection. So I think we know very little of the story of the games. I keep saying it's something epic, and people keep telling me that I'm overthinking things, and that's my usual state of being for some time now.
I don't think that that people saying you're overthinking things is supposed to mean that the story isn't as complex as you think it is, just that you're overthinking particular details.
With every iteration of FNAF that comes out, it seems to confirm more things than I've suspected. And the story gets more and more complex, and now we even have what seems for all the world to be like William being possessed by Shadow Bonnie in the last story of the last novel, where like this kid that won't let him die, that keeps him imprisoned and keeps doing terrible things that people keep blaming William for. It's like this, all of this makes sense to me. So I have not seen anything of sufficient power to get me to to move away from the pink guy. Everything moves toward it.
That I was looking for. Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so the description of the Restaurant of Doom when Charlie first gets there. Wait. At Freddy's Pizza, ghostly images had been burned into the arcade screens after years of play. She pressed a couple buttons experimentally. They were stiff and shiny, untouched. That's why it feels so empty, she said to the chimp above her. No one's ever been here, have they?
So you're saying that William built that whole place in the time since they released him from the cubbyhole behind Pirate's Cove? That's only a few days. That's only a couple days, though. How would they not notice that?
Hasn't it been months? Yeah, I think it's the Twisted Ones takes place a year after the end of the Silver Eyes.
No, but William's been in that cubbyhole. Like Charlie and Jessica. Okay.
He even mentions that, like, if Jessica and Charlie hadn't broken him out of the cubbyhole, then his creations would have eventually, like, found him and gotten him.
All right. But weren't those creations themselves sealed away in the mausoleum underneath the house? As it seems like only the storm was what.
I mean, they're killing people before Jessica and Charlie break Dave out, aren't they?
They haven't been killing people for months. They've only been killing people for a few days.
But it's still before, like, they get him, so him being out isn't a requirement for controlling the Twisted Ones.
Yeah, but how were the Twisted Ones free to move before the mausoleum was opened? It's like, I have a theory that the reason they find battle damage on a Twisted Foxy and also Twisted Freddy, and also remember I mentioned earlier about how the issue of Stanley having a track is important because when Charlie and John go back to the house in the Twisted Ones, they find that Charlie's bedroom was spared the fallen tree damage, but something crashed through the window and left the glass on the inside, and then they find that Stanley has been torn off his track, physically breaking all 4 of his ankles and then thrown aside. This looks like, and there's no image at all of what did that. This makes me think that someone jumped through that window and went on a rampage in Charlie's bedroom. So I'm thinking Baby probably visited the house before they got there. Now, Baby is a really powerful robot. And they're basically the Twisted Ones, even though Williams supposedly controls them, they're hunting down Charlie, which is something that Baby wants. I'm thinking that Baby broke in there, opened the mausoleum, then beat those animatronics into submission, and then sent them where she wanted them to go, basically to hunt down her doppelganger or whatever. That's currently my reading of the timeline. Obviously, you have to comb it really finely to get all the little clues, but I definitely think that Baby was at that house recently, and the reason the Twisted Ones have only been killing people in the last few days, if those are the last few days, only ones they've been able to.
So does that mean that, are you insinuating then that the Restaurant of Doom was Baby's? Like, she made it?
Well, she was supposed to be in the 4th closet. She was supposed to be the ultimate form of Charlie. But then she found out Henry said, "You are wrong," and then she was completely full of rage and completely full of envy about how she was left discarded while this other version of her got all the love and attention, and that's why she hates our Charlie so much. And that's one reason why she would rip Stanley off his track. It's like, "I hate you, boom!" And yeah, I think she went through that house. She probably knew more about it than our Charlie does, because she was in that. She watched Henry work a lot longer and definitely seems to have more knowledge of the situation. I think she went and got the Twisted animatronics and freed them, and that's why even though they've been awake in the mausoleum for some time now, they've only been free to go out and kill people for like the last few days after Baby broke them out.
That's fine and all, but that wasn't really the answer to my question. Where did the Restaurant of Doom come from?
Well, I don't know, but for whatever reason, Henry had no problem with the man who supposedly killed his daughter building a massive complex beneath his own house. Which leaves more questions than answers, and I don't have answers for all of that yet, but it's definitely something we need to look at.
Barry found the Halloween update thing.
Yeah, I found the Halloween content update Steam post, and yes, it is true and has always been true that Scott said that the story of FNAF 4 remained completely hidden. To me, that suggests that FNAF 4 has a story that wasn't considered in FNAF 1 through 3. That's what I get from it.
Well, what I get from it is that we didn't follow the clues yet.
Well, okay. Here's a question to you that I believe I've asked you multiple times, but is always on my mind when we have discussions. When FNAF 1 came out, do you think it was solvable? Everything in FNAF 1, when the game first came out before FNAF 2, do you think people could have realistically solved the lore of FNAF 1?
No, because there's information in FNAF 4 that you need to have in order to fully solve FNAF 1. FNAF 1 is actually the last step.
The first year that FNAF 1 was out, it was unsolvable.
You could solve some things about it, but there is definitely more mystery to be parceled out. And Scott did say that FNAF 1 through 4 made a complete story. Its story has gotten longer since then. They've added more chapters to it, and seems to have possibly created another reboot universe with a glitch trap and all of that, and who knows where that's going. But I definitely think that FNAF 1 through 4 can be solved. And that's what I've been attempting to do all this time.
So, yeah, Scott has said all of that. He also said in this Halloween content update post, you know, when I released the first game over a year ago, I was amazed at how quickly everyone found every bit of lore and story. Do you think that is a true statement?
I don't know. It's very easy he could... This is like talking to a leprechaun when you're asking the game master to tell us what the solution to the game is. It's like he's not motivated to do that.
Because then, the next statement is, then the same happened with part 2. Fans and YouTubers dug in and found everything. And then he talks about the game theory, and he says, then part 3 came out, and once again the story was uncovered by the community. It seems like he's implying that every single time he released a game, people found every bit of lore and story that there was, so that's why he intentionally made FNAF 4 so difficult to solve. And he has said in the interview with Daco, he said later on that he feels he overdid it, that FNAF 4 cast its net too wide for interpretation.
FNAF 4 is definitely a hard nut to crack. FNAF is the hardest mystery I've ever seen, quite frankly. Like, most mysteries at least are nice enough to give you a list of questions to solve, and it's like a point-and-click adventure game. Find the clue that answers this question. FNAF doesn't give you the questions. Things like, why don't the puppet and William attack each other and save them, even though they float within feet of each other? Yeah, it's like the...
There's so much relation to the pink guy, but do you see what we're talking about?
Well, you'd think you... If William killed the puppet, you'd think the puppet would want to kill him, and he'd want to kill the puppet, so it didn't kill him. Neither one attacks the other. They actually act like friends. How can that be possible if William is a DK killer?
Yes, we know the question.
But now, I hope you understand why I chose to talk about the pink guy. We could have talked about something else, but it would have turned into a conversation about the pink guy. We've been debating here for longer than the Afton family Horcrux's narration, and we have not even covered everything remotely.
FNAF is a very complex story that people underestimated for a long time.
Well, yes, about FNAF in general, but also just about the pink guy. You just brought up a question that we haven't even addressed yet.
Yeah, it's the rabbit hole. I still haven't seen the bottom of the rabbit hole, guys. I've seen all these things along the way, but how much farther does it go? I don't know. I just keep my head down and focus on the lore as best I can. I'm no longer trying to guess what anyone did or why. I think that's probably going to be a doom if I try doing that. I just try to focus on the in-game lore and see where it takes me.
So, are you trying to solve the lore regardless of what Scott thinks about the lore?
We covered in the conversations how artists don't always tell people the truth about their creations. Like, you remember the Star Trek Into Darkness, where there was a lot of speculation, is Khan Sin going to be in the movie? Hey, I think Khan's going to be in the movie. And J.J. Abrams flat out went on public and said, no, Khan Sin is not going to be in this movie. And then movie night comes by, and you have the close up, and then at Cumberbatch's face where he says, "I am Khan," and it's like the major spoilers podcast that I follow is just like incensed over that. It's like, he lied to us. He lied to us. And it's like, yeah, but it was a great scene. It was like if he spoiled that reveal for people, it wouldn't have been nearly as possible. It's like, yeah, but he lied to us. It's like he did what made the movie as good as possible. He made sure that when I Am Khan happened, that the audience would go, and they'd be like all amazed. It's like this is something they didn't realize would happen. So it was in his best interest to deceive the public in that case. This is J.J. Abrams. I think he's a great director, and he may have done the right thing, even though it required him to lie to people. But it's when you're dealing with a mystery, you have to expect you're talking to a leprechaun, like a fake creature that's going to try to twist your words at every possible opportunity and tell you things that you think mean one thing, even when they actually mean another. FNAF is the hardest mystery I've ever seen, and we cannot expect Scott to give us straightforward answers about anything.
So, this ties into the question that I asked earlier, um, that I think is one of the most important questions. Why are you focusing on making the like purple guy statement technically true if you think that Scott has lied to us directly in the past?
You're the one saying Scott's lied to us directly in the past. I am not commenting upon that. You've tried to get me to do that several times. All right, I, of all the reasons I've listed, it's like logically William must be the owner of the original restaurant. Why would he trash his own place? Why don't William and the puppet attack each other, even though one supposedly murdered the other, and the other one wants to save their skin? Why aren't they worried? If William is the Take killer, there are so many reasons why William does not logically make sense as a Take killer, and Henry does. That's why I'm taking the route I'm taking.
I think you know that that was not remotely.
All right, clarify your question. Clarify your question, please.
Um, I don't know if I can clarify the question. Okay? Did you or did you not say that sometimes mystery authors don't tell us the truth?
Mystery authors can be very deceptive at times, in varying degrees. J.J. Abrams flat lied to us about Khan being in the film. Scott may have told us something that we thought meant one thing but actually meant another. That's why I keep mentioning that the purple guy comment about Pinky Pill's picture might not be as cut and dry as people say it is.
You keep using weasel words.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like you're saying
I'm a ferret.
Scott may have lied to us, but you keep explaining it as sometimes mystery authors say things that are not completely true.
Yeah. Well, why are you using J.J. Abrams directly lying to an audience of people as a precedent for what you think Scott is doing if you don't think Scott has ever lied to us?
You're the one using the word lie. I want to get that on the record. You're the one who has repeatedly tried to get me to say that word. I will not. Are we clear on that?
You said J.J. Abrams lied.
Yes. You're trying to make me say that about Scott. I don't know why he said the things he has, and I'm not going to speculate anymore. I am going only where I see the in-game logic taking me. You think that is Scott's comments outside of the canon are more important than the information inside. You've told me that before. My take is that the information inside the games is more important than his public statements. That's the direction I'm taking, for better or worse. We'll see what happens.
Thing is, Scott has the way I see it. Scott has a story in his head. He's trying to, through mysterious means, granted, communicate that story to an audience. And I think that uh, the games are much easier to interpret in multiple ways, and the statements that he makes about those games are a much more direct way for him to convey the idea that he has in his head of the story to the audience.
So you're going with the out-of-game statements as
Yes.
being more important than the in-game canon.
Yes.
Okay, I have the opposite approach. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree then.
But thing is, you say you're just done with trying to interpret Scott's statements.
Or MatPat's actions, for that matter, or anyone else's actions. Why does MatPat hate the pink guy so much? I don't know, and I don't think I ever will. When I made the Color Brothers long ago, I thought I'd made a crack in FNAF's armor, and it was my fondest wish that MatPat of all people would see that and realize the story is much deeper than anyone knew, and use that for further theorizing, and then he did the opposite thing. I don't understand that, and I never will understand that. But I'm done worrying about it or commenting about it.
The question still applies.
You have to ask the questions to the right people. Ask me questions about my take on the FNAF lore. That's what I can answer for you today. Those are the only answers I have.
Well, then the question still applies. If you're not trying to explain what Scott says, then why do you have the Jekyll and Hyde theory specifically set up to explain something that Scott says?
Because I think Scott was giving us a nebulous leprechaun-like thing then.
So
he said something that had multiple interpretations that people only interpret as one thing. I saw multiple interpretations, and I keep showing that to people to realize this is not as cut and dry as 99% of the fandom seems to believe.
So you're taking an interpretation from this one statement and leaving all of the other statements alone.
Which I'll list all the other statements.
That would take a long time.
And it'll take me a long time to list all the reasons why William doesn't make sense as the pink guy.
If you are just done analyzing, like, when Scott said stuff like, the community solved the first story.
Well, what do you think he meant?
I think he meant that all of the story that was in FNAF 1 that was intended to be in the game was solved by the community. Even
though FNAF 1 through 4 is a coherent block, and FNAF 4's story was completely hidden. That doesn't logically make sense. I mean, even as Vamp was saying earlier, like, people thought that FNAF World wasn't canon. It was just some goofy thing for a while. Then characters from it started turning up in later games. It's like, how do you interpret that, other than being a slightly misleading statement?
I am far more willing to believe that you made a mistake than Scott has been lying to us.
I am following the clues left in the mystery for where they take me.
Keep in mind, mysteries are far more easy to misinterpret than the author straight up coming out and telling us something about what he intended.
I'm looking for a pattern that explains everything, including the FNAF 1 posters, without relying on declaring any mistakes or leaving anything out. By doing this, by making a model that gets more complex and explains more and more things, I've seen an incredible story get built piece by piece. I am pretty darn sure I'm on the right track. I realize... What?
Why do you think that mistakes in a story inherently make it worse? Like a worse
That's
story?
not what I said. I don't think there are mistakes. I haven't found mistakes in the clues in the FNAF 1 posters. People keep telling me that like, things were prototypes, he didn't have everything planned. It's all just... I mean, people were telling me that Steven Universe made absolutely no sense. I've had people scream in my face that says it made no rhyme or reason. It was just trash that would be cobbled together. And I saw a huge epic story, and I made the...
You don't need to keep
those videos. Well, and that was another case where 90% of the fandom was on the wrong track, and I corrected people. It was like during Pink Diamond's story. Pink Diamond found the crystal gems. I put that in, like, the... Okay.
If you did come up with an unpopular theory that turned out to be true, that doesn't tell us anything about your current...
I used the very same process for that I'm doing with FNAF here. Not declaring anything irrelevant, trying to find a pattern that explains everything in the in-game canon and lore.
I could also make the claim that I have had unpopular theories that turned out to be true. I could give examples. I'm just not that vain.
Am I really vain in saying that my approach has worked before and that this president would mean that maybe I'm not crazy about this? Because people keep telling me that I'm... People keep telling me they am. They telling me you're seeing things. You're crazy, and it's like, no, I see plenty of logical connections there.
Barry has not said any of those things in this interview.
You've multiple times told me if I'm seeing patterns that aren't there, like people that believe in ghosts and shit.
I'm not saying you believe in ghosts. Thing is, I understand how you came to the conclusions that you came to, and I don't think you can say the same for me.
I did only understand last night that you didn't consider that the Foxy Go-Go and Give Gifts, Give Life were different incidents. I still have to find a counter to that. Maybe I should have listened better to understand your version of things.
Yes.
Maybe you should listen better to understand my version of things too. Maybe we're both guilty.
It's very possible. Those videos you make are quite wordy. We still have the matter of oh, there's that.
I'm putting the links here if people want to check it down later. We don't have to play them.
Yeah. We still have the matter of William and the puppet walking past each other.
Well, there is that picture in FNAF 6 where it looks like the puppet is actually a small version of William. You have this old-looking guy with a puppet of himself in his hand. That's in the back alley.
That picture, okay.
So I'm thinking the puppet was able to float even before it took the remnant that remained in Henry's daughter. So there was already remnant in there. That's why I think Elizabeth... What?
Okay, here's... I do have a refutation to the, save them thing, though, where William and the puppet...
All right.
By,
I think William made the puppet, so, okay.
Well, that disagreement might come up then. But in Ultimate Custom Night, the puppet says to the Ultimate Custom Night protagonist, I don't hate you, but you need to stay out of my way. Now, in my theories, this line is directed at William, who I believe killed Charlotte. And in your theories, if I'm not mistaken, this line is directed at Henry, who you believe killed Charlotte.
Yeah, specifically Teen Henry, phone guy that had been devoured by Shadow Freddy. I think that explains the void ending too, where FNAF 1 Golden Freddy is writhing as if tormenting someone while also being tormented herself.
So in both of our models of the FNAF lore, the puppet doesn't hate her killer.
Well, it's her father. I mean, she asked this point blankly to save him in the Take Cake minigame. It's like, there's the puppet talking to us, Freddy, telling us to save someone. She wants us to save the pink guy, because the pink guy is someone she cares about in spite of all this.
Yeah, so in both of our theories, in both of our models, the puppet doesn't have hatred towards her killer, and that's what's important here, because in my model, that means she doesn't hate William. She wouldn't attack William.
Well, in my model, keep in mind this is Shadow Freddy's world, so some of these characters are like things that she's created to torment people with. But remember, Ballora is flirting with the protagonist, and she's not William's wife.
I don't think it's flirting, honestly.
I'd replay the clips and...
She says, these are strange circumstances that have brought us together. I'm not that good at flirting, but I know that these are strange circumstances that have brought us together is not good flirting.
Admit it. You wanted to let me in. That's not flirting?
What was Toy Chica's line again? Something about going somewhere more private so that she can eat us?
Yeah, that's...
Most flirtatious line in the game comes from Toy Chica. Is she also our wife?
No, she hates the protagonist. Because I think Toy Chica is controlled by Shadow Freddy, the negative side of Charlie that couldn't forgive her attacker. That's why Phone Guy is in here.
I agree with Keishu, though, that Toy Chica is way more flirty than Ballora.
She says so I can eat you in a threatening tone of voice. I don't think that's flirting. I think that's playing with her food.
Oh my god.
Let's get a list of the actual quotes. The exact wording is really important here.
I remember. Okay, so I sent a message in the Discord before about like I wrote all of Ballura's Ultimate Custom Night lines, which are: "Don't be shy. Admit it. You wanted to let me in. Why do you hide inside these walls? These are strange circumstances that have brought us together. And I could hear you. ... breathing." And then I contrasted that with the aforementioned Toichika quote, a quote from Lefty that says, "I've been looking for you, and now I will never let you go." A quote from Music Man that says, "You and I will be making music together for a long, long time." And a quote from Rockstar Bonnie that says, "Why so blue? You know I'll be true, and now I'll make slippers out of you." It seems like flirting with us and or threatening us at the same time is a common theme in that game.
Oh yeah, this whole place is designed to be a personal hell for our protagonist.
The Music Man one wasn't even threatening. I think he genuinely was hitting on us.
I mean, if you interpret Ballura's lines as flirting, then a lot more Ultimate Custom Night lines are also flirting.
Can we actually play the lines here the way they're said in the tone of voice? There's a very different tone of voice between Ballura and the others.
I should point out something that I pointed out in that discussion too, that that Stanley from Room for One More also describes Ballura as having a sultry voice. So she's not just putting on that voice for the Ultimate Custom Night protagonist. You need to stand up for a second.
Yeah. But like, you know, you can debunk my assertion that William is the Ultimate Custom Night protagonist.
I could hear you.
All you want, but that.
Let's see if I can play this in Discord. I'm gonna try to play this in my channel real quick. Here's Ballura's Ultimate Custom Night lines. I'm not sure if we'll hear each other's version, but I'll turn it on over here.
I could hear you breathing. Admit it. You wanted to let me in. Why do you hide inside these walls? Don't be shy. These are strange circumstances that have brought us together.
Okay, I'm done. Or you guys can finish yours.
Oh, that's.
You're gonna do the jump scare.
Yeah, it's really loud.
Yeah. I muted the volume for a sec. Yeah, I still don't see how that's any more flirty. Toichika's lines were the first video in the recommended, and it says, "Let's go somewhere more private."
Well, let's play Toichika's lines then, and let's see how romantic they really are. It would be a nice contrast, I think.
It's taken me to a YouTube page. Okay, I see how it is.
You won't get
okay, it's a video of
tired of dying.
Yeah. Would you consider "I always come back" to be flirting?
Who says that? That's William, right? Yeah, it's Trap. That sounds kind of menacing. Look, let's just Toichika real quick.
You won't get tired of dying, will you? Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course. You won't get tired of my voice, will you? Let's go somewhere more private, so I can eat you.
trying to prove that other characters actually are flirting with you, just that, like, we're using the assumption that they can to prove the assumption that they are to prove that Ballora probably isn't.
Well, everything I see from Toy Chica says she's fantasizing about killing and devouring us, and that's a very different thing. Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course. It's like, there's a reason I should hate you, and I want you to die, and I'm going to keep killing you forever! So, I don't think Toy Chica is flirting with us, per se. Not honestly.
Actually, Toy Chica is a yandere. Like, in her anime, that's kind of her entire thing, is
Right.
that she like, romanticizes all these different guys and then murders them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would not consider that love. I would consider that being horrifyingly twisted, but okay.
I'm not saying that she's in love with us. I'm saying that she's flirting with us, and that I think that flirting for her has something to do with violence.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I see Ballora as being honestly flirting, and Toy Chica is fantasizing about our demise.
But well, if we're agreeing to disagree there, then the matter then becomes if William is the ultimate covenant protagonist that Charlotte is asserting she doesn't hate, just that he needs to stay out of her way. Would that or would that not explain the puppet and William just walking by each other and save them, even if William was the one who killed Charlotte?
It does sound like she's addressing her killer in that statement. It's like, there is a reason why I should not like you, but I still like you, but you have to stay out of my way. It's like, she does sound like she's addressing her killer, so I guess that would work for either William or Henry.
She also implies that she used to be afraid of this person, but she isn't anymore.
Yes.
No?
So, I think, like that, I think that would explain it. Also keep in mind that, you believe that William is holding a spring lock crank and save them. I believe it is a taser. Either way, in our respective models, the thing that William is holding would definitely, dismantle or disable Freddy, but it likely wouldn't do very much to the puppet. So it would make sense that William would charge past the puppet to get to Freddy first, because that's who he's attacking.
Even though the puppet is much closer and has much more reason to attack him?
If William is holding a spring lock crank, what would attacking the puppet with it do? Would he just beat it over the head with the crank?
Well, so he's just playing to die? Why doesn't he run away from the puppet then?
Because he's not afraid of the puppet.
Why isn't he afraid of the puppet? That's my question. That's the question we have to answer. We know the puppet can kill people. She does it all the time. So why isn't he afraid of her? I think that's something we need to answer.
I don't know.
Well, that's one of the questions I'm trying to answer. I had a train of thought. Hold on. Oh, great, I lost it. It's getting a little bit late.
Yeah.
What time it is for you guys? It's almost midnight over there or something, or?
Yeah. I start the school year tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we should wrap up matters on the pink guy. Points of note, I would say, is number one, that I consider statements by Scott to be a more direct means of figuring out what FNAF means than evidence within FNAF itself, and you have the opposite way of looking at things.
My approach is to prioritize the evidence actually in the canon games and novels, yes. I realize that...
opportunity to be smug. He's just trying to summarize the points.
Okay.
Yes.
Am I coming off as smug? I'm just... Okay.
I will ask this like broad question. Do you think that my expansive combination of just altogether, my expansive combination of possible reasons why William and the pink guy would look different when I addressed that point and had like 7 different bullet points. Do you think all of those in conjunction explain the differences?
Well, you're trying to tell me that it's a minor detail that's not nearly as important as I'm making it out, and I keep seeing magenta appear as an indicator of Henry's family in multiple types of FNAF. So I do think it's an important detail. Yes, there are many reasons why something could be misconstrued as being more important than it is, but I don't think this is one of those cases.
Asking about importance.
I was asking if my entire list of reasons or explanations for the purple guy and pink guy looking different satisfied him, and it doesn't. It seems.
I think we see Henry and William together in at least 2 more places than we know about. In Foxy Go-Go, William is the one wearing Foxy, who is a spring suit. He's at Endo 2 if you look at his... Do I have that image here? I'll have to go find it. But anyway, that would perfectly describe the events of the 5-child poster if William, wearing Foxy, went in there and found the kids. Like, Foxy's in the cartoon Fredbear and Friends, Spring Bonnie is not. And the discrepancy of the 2 posters, like the 5-child poster talks about how someone wearing a cartoon mascot suit went in. While the 2-child poster talks about how a clearly identifiable human was caught on camera and immediately arrested as a slung down case because his face was on camera. They immediately knew, oh, hey, that's William. And they theorized, okay, how is it different?
We're not trying to convince each other anymore. We're trying to wrap up.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it.
Well, anyway, I think that in FNAF 4 we see William and Henry on the screen, and William is once again the man in the Fredbear suit, like he is in the novels.
And I mean, I can't disprove that the guy in the Fredbear suit is Henry. It seems like a bold claim that it's not just you. A lot of people make that claim that I don't really understand it necessarily. Presumably, there were more employees that wore the Fredbear suit at one point in time or another.
Do we know that for certain?
That Fazbear Entertainment had enough employees that one of them would have to wear Fredbear?
I think each person would usually have a personal character, though. And each one would also have some of the remnant in it. They wouldn't want to share it with other people.
We see William putting Spring Bonnie on somebody who's not him, so
yeah.
Even if you have a character who relates to you, like, other people can still wear that character.
But it's not the same... Okay, it's not the same literal robot, though, because that one... Here, I'll bring it up again. Had no button or bow tie on it. It specified in FNAF 2 that the attacker in Save Them used a spare suit. So there's more than one copy of Spring Bonnie. We have the Stage 01 version with a button and bib, which is what Springtrap actually looks like in FNAF 3. We have the Cosmic Song one from FNAF World with the 2 buttons and the bow tie. And then we have the bare front replacement suit that William seems to get Springtrapped in. Plus the brown jackrabbit we were talking about earlier. There are multiple types of Spring Bonnie that have different characteristics. I think there are also 2 Fredbear suits. Freddy's had one and Fredbear's had one. William wore the one in Fredbear's, and Shadow Freddy got the one in Freddy's.
Which one's Henry wearing?
Henry wears the one that's from Fredbear's.
The one that... You said William wears that one.
Huh?
I don't know. That might have just been a mistake.
Yeah, we see 2 Fredbears in FNAF 4. One of them's chasing Michael, one of them's casting the shadow on the wall. So there are multiple copies of these characters.
I'm going to leave. If you guys need more information or a mediator after this, then you're doing it wrong.
All right. But we haven't...
Fuck.
My goal during this discussion was to explain my theories to you in a way that you agreed that they are a possibility. I do not. I am firmly stating that I have not achieved that goal 100%. But do you
Ha-
think
have I
I
achieved my goal in letting you know there are more than one ways to interpret Scott's comment about Pinky Pill's picture?
I I I think that there could totally be multiple
Okay.
interpretations of it. I just don't see any like or
I,
it's not that I don't see any, but I don't think that I think that the most intuitive interpretation is the one that is like most likely correct.
well, you proposed some interesting ideas today, like hand unit being a rogue AI. That's interesting. That's I'm not sure why Phasma Entertainment is still around and help wanted. There's something going on.
Yeah. So closing thoughts.
Well, I've been trying to for years to show that FNAF had an epic story, and I've continued to do that. And with each iteration of FNAF that comes out, I only see more things that confirm my theories. So I'm sorry if I appear to be a stuck in the mud, stubborn mule or anything, but until someone can provide a firm debunk to these ideas, I'm going to keep rolling with them.
I mean, like recent Fazbear Frights book confirmed a very unpopular theory that I've had for a while, but like I'm not using that to gain credibility.
Which one?
Um, I the 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 toy girl that you think is Charlie, I think is Susie, and the number one um like argument against that, which you have also like asked me, is well, isn't Susie blonde? And keep in mind, I'm also asserting that uh, the toy girl, who I think is Susie, wants Chica. Um,
Do you have the sprite?
uh, no, I don't have, but you know the one I'm talking about, right?
I'm blanking a little bit here.
The one that you think is Charlie with the
Oh,
yeah
with the toy animatronics.
yeah with the toy animatronics.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is Susie, and obviously the number one complaint is that Susie looks blonde in Fruity Maze, but um, the recent, I believe, Coming Home, Casey has said to me, although I haven't read it myself, that Coming Home features a girl named Susie who is suggested to haunt Chica, who has brown hair.
But that's just it. There are more possibilities out there than most people realize. For example, we have the model where Charlie has four forms. She has Ella, she has adolescent Charlie, teen Charlie, and then baby. We have the remnant of each family member has in many different forms. We have Phone Guy as teen Henry, and then adult Henry as Cassette Man. And there's no reason why Charlie shouldn't have more forms also. Maybe Susie is a version of Charlie. That's a complete possibility here. Different, her life has diverged, she's been outgrown, she's no longer the primary one, but she still has a life of her own, and the Daftons don't scrap the earlier models, they just keep them along as children. So maybe just as I think Michael's earlier form was bitten and became Golden Freddy, so he was able to be bit twice. When his teen form was bit in 1987, I think the earlier forms of Charlie and Sammy and the rest could also be the MCI and Save Them victims. So I do think that Susie going into Toy Chica could very well be a version of Charlie with a different name. It's a possibility that I think people should be aware of.
I I don't think there's any denying that I have a lot of experience arguing with you, and it's been years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say that it's been quite recent. You've um, been it seems more perceptive to other people's points of view and other people's assertion that there are possibilities you haven't considered. And I think in that being the case, we have both made huge strides.
That's true. I'm glad we understand each other a bit better now. I know we've had some pretty bitter arguments in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Things got pretty bitter here.
Oh, today? They seem pretty nice, comparatively.
Well, it's hard to convey tone over the internet. I feel like this is calmer than a lot of our arguments online have been perceived
Yeah,
to be.
definitely.
Should we close this out then?
Sure.
All right.
Well, I guess I'll see you on the forums. What do you prefer to be called? Is it still Dr. Spookalicious, or
I mean, spook or fluff is fine.
okay, or cutesy? That was the name for a while. Cutesy woofy fluffles. Is that horrifying now, or okay?
Barry also works.
Barry. Okay, you can also call me Rob if you want. But if there's another Rob around, you have to call me Gandalf because multiple Robs is confusing.
I'll get on that.
Okay. Everywhere I go, there's another Rob, so it's just something that I have to live with.
Okay, well. This has been fun.
Yep, I'll see you on the other side.